5 o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, an officer involved shooting on the city's north side. Iran's president killed in a helicopter crash, and former President Trump's hush money trial resumes today. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 73 degrees. And we are following breaking news. An investigation is underway after a shooting involving San Antonio police last night. Police Chief William McManus says officers responded around 8 p.m. to a report of a man smoking marijuana at an apartment complex on La Cantera Terrace near I-10. McManus says on arrival, the officers found a stolen vehicle and parked behind it.
The suspect came out, got in the vehicle, jumped the curb to escape, and he drove right at the officers, and they fired their weapons in response.
An officer shot the man in the head. The suspect is hospitalized in unknown condition. City officials in Boerne are reporting the recovery of a man's body after he drowned in Boerne City Lake. A man from Leon Springs was reportedly fishing at the lake with some guests Saturday. That night, the man got into the water to cool down, but accidentally stepped into a deep area. His friends were unable to reach him, so they called 911. Dive teams found the man's body Sunday morning. Officials say alcohol is not believed to be a factor. Well, widespread power outages are still plaguing Houston following last week's powerful storm system. Paul Locke of CenterPoint Energy says it'll be days before everyone is going to have electricity again.
We've restored power to over 600,000 customers, and we've got, as of this morning, we had about 350,000 customers still out. We expect everyone to be back on by end of business Wednesday.
At least 7 people were killed as a result of the storm. Roads are still blocked with debris. Traffic lights are out, and homeowners are struggling to get toppled trees off their homes. Well, the president of Iran has been killed in a helicopter crash. Fox's Jonathan Savage has more.
President Ebrahim Raisi was traveling over Iran's northwest when his helicopter came down amid fog and heavy rain. After a massive hours-long search in mountainous terrain, news came through that he, Iran's foreign minister, and others were all dead. President Raisi was 63. Before their deaths were confirmed, there were prayer vigils in the capital, Tehran. Ebrahim Raisi was a hardline member of the judiciary before his rise to the presidency. His leadership was marked by increased repression at home and deepening hostility towards Israel. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, former President Trump visited Dallas over the weekend, where he spoke at the annual National Rifle Association Leadership Forum. Trump told the crowd that gun owners need to get out and vote this year, saying this election will be the most important in the history of our country.
We've got to get gun owners to vote, because you know what? I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a form of rebellion, because you're rebellious people, aren't you? But gun owners don't vote. What is that all about? But let's be rebellious and vote this time, okay?
The chairman of the NRA gave him their official endorsement, and Trump thanked the association for their continued support. Meantime, testimony will resume today in Trump's hush money trial. Here's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer.
Former President Trump's New York criminal trial could be coming to an end soon. His former attorney, Michael Cohen, will be back on the stand tomorrow for what is likely to be his final day of cross-examination. Cohen is believed to be the prosecution's last witness. If that is the case, the defense will have the opportunity to begin calling their own witnesses to the stand. If they decide not to, closing arguments could begin as soon as Tuesday.
Trump is being charged with falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments made to adult actress Stormy Daniels. Trump has denied the allegations. Well, data from the U.S. Census Bureau says San Antonio is growing faster than Austin. The Alamo City added nearly 22,000 more people than any other American city in 2023. Austin, meanwhile, dropped out of the list of the nation's top 10 most populous cities. The capital city now comes in at 11th, with Houston at number 4, San Antonio in 7th place, and Dallas at number 9. Well, rapper Sean Diddy Combs is responding to recently released surveillance video showing him assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Here's Fox's Christina Coleman.
Last November, Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against the music mogul, accusing him of subjecting her to a cycle of horrific abuse, including what she described as frequent savage beatings and sex trafficking. But Combs strongly denied those allegations. Well, now he is publicly apologizing for the violence seen in surveillance video from March of 2016. It shows Combs dressed in a towel as he beats his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The music mogul's public apology comes 2 days after this disturbing video went viral.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
This disturbing incident was referenced in the lawsuit that Ventura filed last November.
And lawyers for Ventura dismissed the apology as pathetic. It is 5:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
I don't know if my mic is on or not. It is now. Good morning, everybody, if you can hear me. This is Nolan Ryan. Good morning, Travis, Tracy, Echo 5 Hotel, Tommy Miller. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Chris, good morning. We're almost ready. I am tanking up on coffee. Andrew Zimmel doing all the heavy lifting this morning, running the show and running the video. Travis, my Apple Watch says you just sent me an email. I'll read it a little bit later because we're about to go on the air, but thank you, Travis. Oh, let me put this here so I can see it better. And speaking of my phone, where did I put my phone? There it is. Mr. T is on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. Here we go. Showtime, everybody. Welcome into this beautiful day, Monday, May 20th, 2024, 7 days until Memorial Day, 31 days until the first official day of summer, although it already feels like it. 45 days until the 4th of July and 168 days until the 2024 election. What could possibly go wrong? Charity McCurdy. By the way, Mr. T on vacation this week. Charity McCurdy, how are you this morning?
I am doing all right. I'm a little sunburned from the first full weekend at the pool, but I have to say, first and foremost, you've been in our hearts and on our minds. I know this has been a difficult few days for you and your family.
Thank you. And people who pay attention to whatever I put out there on social media. My mom passed away Thursday night. She was 100. So yeah, we're sad, but she is where she wants to be in heaven. So we're happy for that.
Yes, most definitely.
So, all right, a little sunburned. What'd you do at the pool? What was that all about?
No, it was so hot. And that was the only thing that was bearable as far as activity wise to do. And I was so concerned about the kids getting sunburned and reapplying the lotion there. But I guess I forgot to reapply the sunblock on myself. So it'll be fine. It'll turn into a tan in 2 days.
Gives you a little color.
Yeah.
Gives you a little color. All right, speaking of the weather, let's get this party started with traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast, mostly cloudy earlier today, sunshine this afternoon, a high in the upper 90s, overnight low mid 70s. Pretty much the same tomorrow and Wednesday. Morning clouds and sunny afternoons, highs in the upper 90s, lows in the mid to upper 70s. Right now, 74 in Helotes, 73 at Lackland Air Force Base, 73 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news, Andrew Zimmel doing the heavy lifting, wearing a retro Spurs cap this morning. And part of his heavy lifting, flying the Millennium Falcon, is running our live video stream. In fact, let me see who we have on the video stream already. Echo 5 Hotel, Travis, Tommy Miller, Tracy Bogert, Chris and others, welcome in. What's cool about the live video stream, Charity, is not only do you see the show, and by the way, when you were out all that previous week, we were apologizing to our viewers. They had no eye candy whatsoever. They were watching me and Mr. T, and that's not exactly visually pleasing. So,
it depends on who you ask. I mean, you're always rocking the most awesome shirts. So people always want to see your wardrobe choice of the day. I think you underestimate yourself.
I think our stoner viewers, if you wake and bake, maybe that adds to when it's me on the screen. But what I really enjoy about the live video stream, by the way, it's on YouTube. So go to YouTube and look for 1200 WOAI. Come on in. You'll find the live stream. What I like is there's a live chat. So Charity, people are chatting amongst themselves. They're chatting with us during the breaks. We can either respond, verbally, or we can type in a response. I know you've done that a number of times as well. So it's kind of a cool little way to participate in the show. It is.
It's a lot of fun. I love getting to interact when I can. It's hard. There's a lot of multitasking going on here behind the scenes, but it's cool to see, especially our regular listeners. They make it a part of their morning routine to get on our live stream. So.
And we do appreciate it. Yeah, yes. Unlike here in the studio when it's me and when it's Tim. And by the way, Charlie Parker will be in this morning from 7 to 9. We get to slack a little bit during the breaks. Charity McCurdy, you are working nonstop, bouncing off the walls all morning long, including during the commercial breaks.
Always fun. Never a dull moment.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, coming up, as we get closer to that 2024 election, 168 days away, we have a burning presidential election question for you. And it is coming right up. It is San Antonio's first news, WOAI News Time, 5:14. All right, everybody, welcome. Buenos dias. Tight on me for now, because I'm going to talk a little bit. Thank you. Tight on me for now. Perla Castro, yeah. I'm 63 years old, and I had my mom for 63 years. So, yeah, I was very blessed. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I know a lot of you have, expressed very nice condolences and more online. And I thank everybody for that. Yeah, it's so weird. So she passed away on Thursday night. So we had prearranged the funeral. So I call the funeral place on Monday morning and go, we'd like to come in and have a meeting and try to figure out when this funeral is going to be. And they go, oh, the funeral director is apparently just one. The funeral director is booked today. Okay. When can I? And I got a sister in town and one who lives here. When can we see him? And they go, his first opening is Monday at noon. So we don't even know. And there's so many moving parts. There's my mom's church. There's Fort Sam Houston. She's going to be buried with my dad. There's so much that we don't know yet that we've got to figure out. And we have a family member, her grand nephew, who is a priest, and he is based in Spokane, Washington, with a church. So we got to get him to come in. So anyway, it's there's a lot of moving parts, and we do not know when the funeral is going to be yet. Lots of stuff to organize starting today. Good morning, Tim. Thank you, sir. All right. If you're just tuning in, Tim is on vacation. Lucky him. He'll be back next week. All righty. Let's see. Thank you, Travis. I just read your email, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam Tobias. Yeah, you mentioned Travis, your dad passed away in 2011. I had a brother who passed in a plane crash in 1980. And I mean, it still hurts. That was 44 years ago. So yeah, it never... Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. And then we've got a burning presidential election question for you. We're going to take your pulse and see what the people want. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
A man is hospitalized after he was shot by SAPD last night on the city's north side. The president of Iran, along with his foreign minister and several others, have been killed in a helicopter crash. And former President Trump picked up the endorsement of the NRA over the weekend as his hush money trial resumes today. We'll have the latest coming up right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel 3-day forecast. Today, mostly cloudy early, then the sun will break out in the afternoon. It'll be quite hot high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the mid 70s. Pretty much the same forecast tomorrow and Wednesday. Morning clouds, sunny afternoon, high in the mid to upper 90s, lows in the mid to upper 70s. Right now, 72 in Boerne, 71 in Von Ormy, 73 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Mr. T on vacation this week. He is at the coast. Good for him. Charlie Parker's going to join us for Those Were the Days at 6:48. Then he'll be in studio with us from 7 to 9. Charity McCurdy bringing you all the news you need to know and more. Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon. I'm Chris Duell. And in fact, I'll go ahead and pull back the curtain, Charity. We are going to play a big portion of it for you at 7:10 for Wait Till You Hear This. Saturday Night Live did a sketch over the weekend of President Trump kind of holding some auditions for vice president. It's something that he still has not revealed. And we know that our listeners are locked in to election 2024. So I think we have a question that will take their pulse on the VP question.
Yeah, we want to know who Trump's VP should be. We have those two presidential debates locked in between Trump and President Biden. So a lot of enthusiasm is building up. Pretty soon, it's expected he'll announce his VP choice probably during the RNC in July. But we want to know because there's several names that have been floating out there. So just use the iHeartRadio app. You search 1200 WOAI, hit that red talkback button, 30 seconds to let us know who should be Trump's VP.
And a very intriguing possibility. And I go back to this, Charity, because White House correspondent and attorney John Decker, and oh, by the way, he'll join us again this morning at 8:20. He is so insightful, has covered so many presidencies, including Donald Trump's first term. There may be a second term. He says don't rule out Donald Trump Jr. as just a legacy vice presidential pick that locks in his family perhaps for another 8 years after he leaves office if all things go the way the Trumps would like to see them go.
I'm sure supporters of the former president would absolutely love that. They would be thrilled with that choice. Democrats, not so much. I think their heads would implode.
Yes. Well, and to that point, and as we know, it's Biden-Harris as it was last election. It used to be, Trump and Mike Pence. A lot of people say we're not going to see from either party again two white guys on the ticket, that you need diversity. You either need a woman and or a person of color on that ticket. Do you think that's part of Donald Trump's calculus?
I think so, but I think a lot of it comes down to the personality of his vice president. I think Trump wants a vice president that's willing to defend him, but that won't take the spotlight away from him. And I always go back to, our Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I think she is a name that's not mentioned enough as a potential candidate.
Funny you should bring that up because John Decker said he says it's one of the two. He says it's either a Trump, such as Donald Trump Jr., perhaps even Ivanka Trump. He's mentioned don't rule her out, or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who, as we know, as his press secretary for so long, was and is to this day extremely loyal to Donald Trump. Plus, now she's a governor, so you add a governor to that ticket, and that becomes very intriguing. She's got executive responsibilities now that she never had before.
And you mentioned Ivanka. I don't think she wants anything to do with politics. I think she's been burned too badly and just wants to focus on raising her family.
But in the words of Henry Kissinger, power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Even though she wants nothing to do with politics, if she's thought for a moment, talk to Jared about it, she goes to Jared and they talk about it. The power that could wield for her family. Hard to turn down that level of power that could come her way should she ever become president.
Yeah, you can't rule anything out when it comes to the Trump family, that's for sure.
Okay, we want to hear from you. We're going to play your reactions on the air. Who would you like to see Donald Trump pick as his running mate for election 2024, just 168 days away? iHeartRadio app, it's free. Search 1200 WOAI, as Charity mentioned. Hit that talk back button. You got 30 seconds. And if you ever want to go more than 30 or it runs out on you, you can leave us another one. And we are likely to play your second one because that's just the way we roll. Okay, Charity McCurdy has everything you need to know here at the bottom of the hour. And then we will dive into the big stories of the day, including that helicopter crash in Iran that killed its president and other officials. We'll get into that and a whole lot more coming up. Right now, it's going to be your Fox Business Report, WOAI News Time 525. All right, we are here. Good morning, everybody. Travis, Tim, Scott, welcome in. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the kind words. Lori, thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. You're all very nice and thoughtful, and I appreciate that. Let's see. I got to let them know what we're talking about next. I think we're going to go... Latest from Houston. Let's see. Okay, why is my Bluetooth not working? Here it comes. All right. Tracy Bogert says, as stated, no mention of Trump going blank for 30 seconds during his NRA speech. If it was Biden, you'd be on it like stink on a stick. Tracy, we are, I believe, very, very fair when it comes to the election, at least on this show. And we're going to play, and it was a parody. Wait till you hear this at 7:10. We're playing the Saturday Night Live parody of Trump and Senator Tim Scott and Governor Kristi Noem, and he brings out Hannibal Lecter. I think we're fair. So I'm guessing. I've been so out of it. I'm looking at Fox News. I guess the Brahmas won yesterday. I didn't see it. So the president and the foreign minister, among others, killed in that crash. Oh, that's wow. So he's coming here. Andrew Zimmel telling me Wade Phillips will be in studio with Andy Everett on Ticket 760 this afternoon. That's cool. I'm going to stretch a little bit. I think you'll still see me. Yeah, you'll still see me. I just have to stretch. We're going to talk coming up the latest from Houston in the aftermath of those storms, at least 7 dead. Charlie Parker in studio, 7 o'clock, 7 to 9. Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, Tim gave me the Andrew Zimmel, everybody. You know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him. He is the toast of Austin Sports Talk Radio, soon to be the toast of San Antonio Sports Talk Radio. Move over, Andy Everett. There's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Andrew Zimmel. Yeah, Andy too, baby. Move over. You got Wade Phillips, Andy Everett. Well, Andrew Zimmel will get Bill Belichick, the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I predict Mike McCarthy will be fired let's go week 8. And Jera will hire Bill Belichick as the next Cowboys coach. And you don't believe me? Oh, Belichick would never work for Jerry Jones or vice versa. I got 2 words for you. Bill Parcells. It happened before. A very disciplinarian coach with a Super Bowl pedigree. We are going to Charities News, by the way. Yes. Charities News coming right up. Enjoy. Enlighten yourselves. Travis, I think the Cowboys need a lot more than Bill Belichick.
.531 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, bad weather is blamed for a helicopter crash that killed Iran's president and foreign minister. Michael Cohen is expected back on the stand in former President Trump's hush money trial, and the CDC issues a warning about drownings. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 74 degrees. And we're following breaking news. An investigation's underway after a shooting involving SAPD last night. Police Chief William McManus says officers responded around 8 o'clock to a report of a man smoking marijuana at an apartment complex on La Cantera Terrace near I-10. McManus says on arrival, the officers found a stolen vehicle and parked behind it. Chief McManus says the suspect smoking marijuana then attempted to flee in the stolen vehicle.
Since he couldn't back out of the parking space, he jumped the curb and drove toward the officers, which prompted them to fire their weapons at him.
The officers who fired their weapons have been in service for around 1 year prior to the incident. No word on the condition of the suspect. Well, bad weather in a remote location hampered the search for the bodies of Iran's president, foreign minister, and other officials after they died in a chopper crash Sunday in northwestern Iran. Here's Fox's Alex Hogan.
The fog and the rain really only complicated these search and rescue efforts. Teams in the region in this mountainous area had tried to rely on drones to be able to comb through some of the landscape searching for the president. But because, again, of the weather conditions, any kind of air search was impossible, and ground forces were the forces that they really needed to rely on, which of course just takes more time. All of this comes after a trip to the border with Azerbaijan, with the President Ibrahim Raisi meeting with his counterparts when that helicopter went missing.
Raisi was a hardliner who was once a member of Iran's judiciary, presiding over the execution of scores of dissidents back in the 1980s. As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, Governor Abbott and the National Rifle Association are both endorsing former President Trump's run for the White House. Abbott spoke on Saturday at the annual meeting of the NRA in Dallas. The three-term Republican governor touted his record of passing gun-friendly legislation such as unlicensed open carry. Abbott spoke prior to Trump's own comments to the conservative audience.
And let there be no doubt, the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. You know what they want to do. They're going to, if they get in, our country is going to be destroyed in so many ways, but the Second Amendment will be, it's under siege.
Trump urged gun owners to vote. Meantime, Trump's New York criminal hush money trial is nearing an end. He'll be back in the courtroom this morning after the trial was dark Friday. Ex-Trump lawyer Michael Cohen is expected to be on the witness stand again for more grueling cross-examination about hush money paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels. The judge has told defense lawyers and prosecutors to be ready for closing arguments as soon as tomorrow, but that all depends on whether Trump testifies. Well, newly filed legislation is trying to ban what backers are calling a weapon of war.
Pistols and even AK-47s pale in comparison to a massive 50 caliber rifle. The military uses them to take down helicopters that are more than 1 mile away, and Congressman Joaquin Castro wants them banned. He says this is far from a gun grab.
I don't think anybody's going to make the argument that a 50 caliber rifle is for home defense. This is like a military grade weapon.
The Texas Democrat says that 90% of the weapons used in Mexican shootouts come from the U.S., and cartels use this 50 caliber rifle to take on the military. So a ban here, he says, would decrease their power south of the border. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The last remaining pandas in the U.S. will soon be returned to China. Zoo Atlanta has confirmed its 4 giant pandas will be sent to China sometime later this year. This comes as the zoo's giant panda agreement with China expires this year. Other zoos across the country have recently had to return their panda bears, which are loaned from China, leaving Zoo Atlanta as the last place in the country to see them. However, the San Francisco Zoo is expected to welcome a pair of giant pandas next year. Well, the CDC is warning that drowning deaths in the U.S. are on the rise.
A new study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that after decades of decline, drowning deaths are on the rise. It found that more than 4,500 people died due to drowning each year from 2020 to 2022. That's 500 more per year compared to 2019. The report also included data on self-reported swimming skills, participation in swimming lessons, and exposure to recreational water. Drowning is the #1 cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4. The CDC says accessible swimming lessons save lives and report more than 40 million U.S. adults don't know how to swim, and more than half have never taken a swimming lesson. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
It is 5:37 now with breaking crime news from around the country. Here's Nancy Grace. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money in the world of business, we say good morning to Scott Carr live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thanks, Scott. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T is at the coast. He's on vacation this week. Charlie Parker will join us with Those Were the Days at 6:48. Then he's in studio from 7 to 9 this morning. Always insightful and entertaining. We'll go back in time with Flashback here in just a few minutes, in less than 9 minutes, in fact. Charity McCurdy, I'm hearing that a lot of the power has been restored in Houston, but it was a tough weekend. Throughout the weekend, sweltering temperatures in Houston. Over 200,000 customers were without power in 90-degree plus temperatures. And anybody who's been to Houston knows that 90 plus in Houston with that humidity is pretty rough to deal with.
And that's why they have cooling centers open to help some affected residents. But as of last evening, we're told about 80% of residents have had their power restored. But all the lights and AC should be back on by Wednesday, is what we're hearing.
And death toll, last number I saw was at least 7 died in that Thursday storm over Houston.
I mean, hurricane force winds 100 miles per hour. What was so heartbreaking, apparently one woman was trying to move her vehicle, the only vehicle that the family had, and she was trying to move it out of the way. And that's when a tree fell on her. And that's how she died. Someone else died as a result of a crane falling. So it was just horrible everywhere you turned.
You going back the last several years, Houston has been hit so often and gone through just horrible weather, horrible flooding.
Yes.
You say hurricane force winds, hurricanes themselves. I mean, I understand you're on the Gulf Coast essentially. So you're going to get hit now and then. But my gosh, I think Houston has gotten more than its share the last several years.
Most definitely. And I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. I mean, they probably saw, okay, we're going to have some showers and storms, but they weren't expecting, high-rise buildings to have their windows shattered. I mean, the city was brought pretty much to a standstill as a result of that storm.
And, when you think of storms that can do this level of damage, you tend to think, okay, hurricanes typically, and you don't think about that. I mean, it doesn't happen typically in the month of May. Obviously, it wasn't a hurricane, but you mentioned hurricane force winds, all that destruction, that death toll at least 7, the power outages. Usually you say, all right, hurricane season, let's be really ready between July and October maybe. But it's just so sad that Houston had to put up with just another deadly weather condition once again.
And they're getting help from around the state. I know the San Antonio Food Bank and CPS Energy crews are heading to Houston, are already there to help out with relief efforts.
kudos to the San Antonio Food Bank and CPS Energy and anyone who is helping the people of Houston. That is just, God bless you all for doing that work. And our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Houston. And it wasn't just Houston. I mean, it stretched into
Louisiana,
Oklahoma, even Kansas got hit last night. So we'll continue to update you on the weather conditions. Coming up, we will go back in time. We will play Flashback. And we'll try to figure out, you can try to figure out with us, what year will we land in? That is coming right up. WOAI News Time, 545. Thank you. All right. Woohoo! Woohoo! We're going to play Flashback in just a little bit. Enjoy that. Anybody who's in the live feed right now, welcome in. If you just came in recently, thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday morning, the 20th day of May. You believe we're going to be in June in 11 days? That's a little crazy. Stephen, okay. Tracy Bogert, you got a talk back coming. So does Stephen from Lytle. Cool. That'll be fun. And we'll play those at about 5:52-ish. It's coming up on 5:47. So, unlikely NBA teams advancing. Denver falling to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The New York Knicks falling to the Indiana Pacers. I think both of those are. So I think Minnesota over Denver is quite the upset. From when that series began, Denver, the defending NBA champions, and I think a lot of people really started to believe in the Knicks before this playoff series where the Indiana Pacers got them. Yeah, Travis, I agree. And I like Denver a lot. I like Jokic. I'm glad they won the title last year, but I like new blood. The only team I want to see winning multiple championships are the San Antonio Spurs. Red Lobster files for bankruptcy. Now, granted, Red Lobster will probably reorganize, but Astros moving up. Yeah, I saw Rangers lost yesterday, Tracy, and Astros won. We like that. I'm a big Astros fan, as is Tracy. Tracy says Red Lobster should have filed for bankruptcy decades ago. Their food absolutely sucks. Yeah. I was a Red Lobster dishwasher. I lied about my age. In 1975, I was 15, not yet 16, but I wanted to work. So I lied about my age, and I was a Red Lobster dishwasher, one of my early jobs. So I am a Red Lobster alum. So I shed a little tear that Red Lobster files for bankruptcy. Might have to talk to Charity about that at some point. Here we come. Coming up, your talkbacks on who you think Donald Trump should pick for vice president. But right now, it is time to go back in time. Let's play flashback. Now, Charity, I know you're a huge Montel Jordan fan, so this should be pretty easy for you.
I'm a huge Christopher Reeve fan.
Oh, me too.
In that tragic accident. I think that was 95.
95. I was leaning 94. Let's find it. You're usually right. Let's find out what year it was. She wins again. Charity McCurdy. She can't be stopped. She can only be contained. Charity, what other stories are you following?
The death of Iran's president could have significant implications for Iran, Israel, and the wider region, as well as for global markets. Former President Trump's New York criminal hush money trial resumes today with Michael Cohen back on the stand. And last night, SAPD officers shot a man in the head who allegedly was trying to run them down in a stolen vehicle. We'll have details coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast: mostly cloudy earlier today, then sunny and hot in the afternoon. High in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the mid to upper 70s. Pretty much a carbon copy tomorrow and Wednesday. Morning clouds, sunny afternoon, highs in the mid to upper 90s, lows in the mid to upper 70s. Right now, 72 in Lavernia, 73 in New Braunfels, 74 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news: Charity McCurdy, Mr. T on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. I'm Chris Duell. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days at 6:48. He'll join us in studio from 7 to 9. And Charity, we have been asking the people
a burning election 2024 question this morning.
Yeah, we want to know who do you want as former President Trump's VP pick and why? And we're asking you to use the iHeartRadio app and the talkback button and let us know.
All right, we got a couple regular listener. And oh, by the way, right now he is in the live feed on YouTube at 1200 WOAI, Mr. Tracy Bogert. Ouch. The puppy killer. She is never going to live that down.
Yeah, it seemed like Trump kind of glossed over it like it's not a big deal, like she's still up for consideration. So, I don't think she did herself any favors, but I think she's still in the running.
Wow, that would be pretty remarkable if he went that way. Let's do one more. Let's do Stephen from Lytle. Now, see, you can do that. You can take our talkbacks anywhere you want. We will ask you a question, but if you're not feeling it, you want to go in another direction. We love Stephen from Lytle, one of our favorite teachers out there, Charity.
Yes, most definitely. And I just love it because you never know where the conversation will go from there. It's all based on those talkbacks.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. So keep them coming. Charity McCurdy has everything you need to know at the top of the hour. And then at 6:10, we will talk about the latest we know from Iran, where that helicopter crash killed the president, the foreign minister, and other officials. Lots coming at you all morning long. Thanks for being with us. San Antonio's first news, WOAI News Time, 5:57. Yeah, Travis, I don't know if anybody else can hear us. Travis says there's no audio right now. Oh, so they didn't hear the talkbacks. Okay, that's okay. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, my bad. The talkbacks have to be played from in here, so that's why you didn't hear the talkbacks. So, okay. Yeah, Travis, we're working on that. See, Andrew Zimmel and Tim Merriman are your technical gurus. All I know how to do is talk into the stick. So with Tim not here, those talkbacks went over the air on the radio, but you weren't able to hear them here. So there's that. Sorry about that. So Tracy Bogert, your talkback did happen. I'm going to stretch a little bit. We will cut to Charity for the news, which is beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of weird little technical intricacies that happen with this broadcast. Charlie Parker just walked into the building at 5:58. I'm going to let them know Charlie Parker is in the building. Andrew Zimmel already knows if he's listening to the audio. All right. So 6:10 we'll go Iranian president killed in helicopter crash, 6:10. There's that. Let's see. Bob says, you put on my glasses, Bob. The font is really small on my little computer here. The dog kill issue, my understanding is that it's common ranch farm practice that if a dog from a nearby ranch or farm kills your livestock, you have the right to kill that dog. I would imagine, and you know, if you live on a farm or a ranch, and obviously Christy Nome in South Dakota, it's
6
a
o'clock
whole
is our
different
time.
thing,
San Antonio's
and
first news. Good Monday
imagine you know
morning.
that as
I'm
well,
Charity
Bob.
McCurdy.
You know,
Among our top stories, an officer
there's a
involved
lot of
shooting
life
on the
and
city's
death.
north side.
If
Iran's
you've got
president killed in a helicopter
farm
crash.
animals,
And former
livestock, if
President Trump's
you're
hush money
raising,
trial
so,
resumes today. Details ahead. First, traffic
you know, if
and
that was
weather
supposed
together
to be a
every
hunting
10
dog or a
minutes
work
in
dog,
mornings.
I mean, ideally, would have been nice. Up.
Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday. Morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 74 degrees. And we're following breaking news as San Antonio police are investigating an officer-involved shooting at a Northside apartment complex that put a fleeing suspect in the hospital.
They were called here for someone smoking marijuana at the pool.
SAPD Chief William McManus says his cops were called out around 7:15 last night to a complex at La Cantera Terrace and found a reported stolen car and parked behind it. McManus says as they went to investigate the pool call,
The suspect came out, got in the vehicle, jumped the curb to escape, and he drove right at the officers and they fired their weapons in response.
that unidentified suspect was taken to a local hospital in unknown condition. The two officers on the call had just over a year on the force and were not injured. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
One person is dead, 2 others injured in 3 shootings during the annual Go Topless Jeep weekend on the Boulevard Peninsula in Galveston County. DPS troopers and Galveston County Sheriff's deputies responded to a double shooting at Crystal Beach early yesterday morning. One victim was shot in the chest and airlifted to a nearby hospital, and later a suspect was arrested after a brief pursuit. Another shooting victim was treated by EMS on the scene. The unofficial event is a troubled history. There were 189 arrests as of Saturday morning, while last year over 200 arrests were made and 40 were hospitalized. Widespread power outages are still plaguing Houston following last week's powerful storm system. Paul Locke of CenterPoint Energy says it'll be days before everyone is going to have the lights back on.
We've restored power to over 600,000 customers. And we've got, as of this morning, we had about 350,000 customers still out. We expect everyone to be back on by end of business Wednesday.
At least 7 people were killed as a result of the storm. Roads are still blocked with debris. Traffic lights are out, and homeowners are struggling to get toppled trees off their homes. Well, the president of Iran has been killed in a helicopter crash. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage.
President Ibrahim Raisi was traveling over Iran's northwest when his helicopter came down amid fog and heavy rain. After a massive hours-long search in mountainous terrain, news came through that he, Iran's foreign minister, and others were all dead. President Raisi was 63. Before their deaths were confirmed, there were prayer vigils in the capital, Tehran. Ibrahim Raisi was a hardline member of the judiciary before his rise to the presidency. His leadership was marked by increased repression at home and deepening hostility towards Israel. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, former President Trump visited Dallas over the weekend where he spoke to the annual NRA Leadership Forum. Trump told the crowd that gun owners need to get out and vote this year, saying this election will be the most important in the history of our country.
We've got to get gun owners to vote because you know what? I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a form of rebellion because you're rebellious people, aren't you? But gun owners don't vote. What is that all about? But let's be rebellious and vote this time, okay?
Meantime, a member of Trump's defense team will cross-examine Michael Cohen for one more day as closing arguments for the New York hush money trial could come as soon as tomorrow. Here's Fox's Brooke Stingman.
Trump's attorney accused Cohen of lying on the stand and seeking revenge against Trump for not getting a job in the White House. During his testimony, Cohen admitted to a slew of lies, including falsifying invoices to the Trump Organization to get reimbursed for his payment to Stormy Daniels. He said he labeled it a $35,000 per month retainer fee. He also admitted to opening a bank account for a business that he really used to make hush money payments to Daniels. Once the defense completes cross-examination, the prosecution will get the chance to try and patch up any doubts the defense may have sown in the minds of jurors about their witness. Brooke Singman, Fox News.
Well, rapper Sean Diddy Combs is responding to recently released surveillance video showing him assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Here's Fox's Christina Coleman.
Last November, Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against the music mogul, accusing him of subjecting her to a cycle of horrific abuse, including what she described as frequent savage beatings and sex trafficking. But Combs strongly denied those allegations. Well, now he is publicly apologizing for the violence seen in surveillance video from March of 2016. It shows Combs dressed in a towel as he beats his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The music mogul's public apology comes 2 days after this disturbing video went viral.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
This disturbing incident was referenced in the lawsuit that Ventura filed last November.
Well, thousands of Kyles made their way to the city of Kyle over the weekend in an attempt to break the Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of people with the same first name. The Kyle Fair Textravaganza needed to see over 2,000 Kyles to do that. They fell short, meaning the record still belongs to a town in Bosnia and Herzegovina for a 2017 All Ivans gathering. It is 6:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
Woohoo! All right. I guess you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? I think you can. Cool. Welcome into the live feed, whoever is here. Bob, Echo 5 Hotel, Travis, Tracy Bogert. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Woohoo! Hello, Willie. Welcome in. San Antonio's first news. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T, Tim Merriman, has the week off. He's at the coast, lounging, a well-earned vacation this week. He'll be back next week. Charlie Parker will have Those Were the Days at 6:48. He'll join us from 7 to 9. Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon and running our live video on YouTube. If you want to join us, go to YouTube, find 1200 WOAI, and you'll see our live video feed coming up. The latest of that helicopter crash, what we know about it, that took the life of the Iranian president, foreign minister, and other officials. But first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast, mostly cloudy early, then sunshine and hot this afternoon with a high in the mid to upper 90s, overnight low in the mid to upper 70s. Going to be the same tomorrow and Wednesday with that forecast of morning clouds, sunny afternoons, and the same temperature spread of mid 90s for the highs and mid 70s for the lows. Right now, 72 in Lavernia, 73 in New Braunfels, 74 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news, a helicopter crash in a remote mountainous region in apparently bad weather has taken the life of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and the foreign minister and other officials on board that helicopter. And when something like this happens, Charity, of course, we know that Iran has been an adversary of the United States and has been an adversary, certainly, of Israel. Some people wondering if, it could be a special operation by either Israel or the United States to take this helicopter down. I think given the situation, I certainly don't think the United States would do something like that.
Yeah, and Israel is saying that they had no involvement either. But a lot of concerns about the implications, not only for Iran, could this create a power vacuum as you have senior leaders vying for control? But what does this mean for Israel, the wider region, and of course, global markets? I mean, when you think of Iran, you think oil. So could this lead to volatility in the oil markets? But chances are everything will remain on course because it's really the supreme leader, I think, that makes the ultimate decisions. And I know they have to hold some kind of election in the next 50 days to choose the successor.
Yeah, you make a huge point. The supreme leader, who's an Ayatollah, is really the ultimate ruler in Iran. What that does, it makes the president, in this case, the President Raisi, who was just killed, second in command. And then comes the first vice president, who will become the interim president until that election is held in the next 50 days. It will be interesting, though, Charity. You mentioned Israel and the United States say they had nothing to do with it. Might the Iranians, who are not the best actors on the world stage, might they blame Israel and or the United States for this ultimately, even if they don't have the evidence?
These are the same people that often chant death to America. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they point the finger over here.
Yeah, we'll continue to track that story. We'll be bringing you updates throughout the morning on that one as well. Coming up, we are asking you on the free iHeartRadio app on the Talkback feature as we get closer to the presidential election in November. We're now 168 days away. Who would you like to see former President Donald Trump pick as his running mate? We're playing your reactions on the air. We'll do more of that coming up as well. We'll get you caught up on headlines, traffic, and weather together coming right up. WOAI News Time, 6:15. Sam Tobias seeing fog. Tracy Bogert, all those things are true. However, as you well know, because I know you're very politically savvy, this is about the Electoral College. This is not about Senate and House races in 21, 22, 23. It comes down to those swing states, and the last data I saw reveals that former President Trump is leading in 6 of the 7 swing states. And if those numbers held, he would win the Electoral College regardless of the popular vote. I know you know all of this, and that's why whenever I see a poll that says national polling says, Trump 46%, Biden 43%, well, that's nice information, but the information we need the swing states. We need how that translates into the Electoral College, because that's what's going to determine our president. And I am not a big fan of the Electoral College. I am not a big fan that South Dakota has 2 senators and Texas has 2 senators and California has 2 senators and North and South Dakota together have 4 senators. It's time to revamp that. Well, look at that from Tracy Bogert. Truth be told, I would rather take back the House, retain the Senate, than win the presidency. Wow. Your wish may come true. We're going to mention the Red Lobster bankruptcy filing. Hello, Louie, if you can hear me. Cool. Welcome in, Louie. Anybody else who's in here, welcome in. Woo! Just ahead of headlines, traffic and weather together. And Charity, we had heard last week this was coming. Red Lobster made an announcement yesterday. It is now official. They have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in a Florida court. They are securing $100 million in financing commitments from its lenders. When's the last time you ate at a Red Lobster?
High school, and that was fancy eating back then.
Yes,
that
it was.
the prom and homecoming post-dance celebration, or actually we'd go to dinner beforehand and then head to the dance. But that was considered high class back in the day.
In 1975, I lied about my age so that I could work at a Red Lobster as a dishwasher. I was 15 years old, too young to officially work. So I lied on my application, said I was 16, and I was hired. I am a Red Lobster dishwashing alumni.
They didn't ask for ID.
Nah.
They didn't know
they
birth
just said,
certificate.
Get the hell in there and get washing those dishes, kid. It was not my favorite job ever, but one of my first jobs. Very, very cool. Charity McCurdy, what else are you following?
A man is hospitalized after he was shot by SCPD last night on the city's north side. The president of Iran, along with his foreign minister and several others, have been killed in a helicopter crash. And former President Trump picked up the endorsement of the NRA over the weekend as his hush money trial is set to resume today. We'll have more coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, mostly cloudy in the morning, then sunshine in the afternoon, and hot. Highs in the mid to upper 90s, overnight low in the mid to upper 70s. Same forecast tomorrow and Wednesday. Morning clouds, sunny afternoon, highs in the mid to upper 90s, lows in the mid to upper 70s. Right now, it is 71 in Kerrville, 72 in San Marcos, and 74 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news on the live video feed on YouTube. Tracy Bogert says Red Lobster should have filed for bankruptcy a long time ago. Their food sucks. Louis says, I never ate at Red Lobster. Not getting a lot of Red Lobster love, Charity, from the people.
I just remember those cheddar biscuits. Those were absolutely divine.
Yes, they were. I kind of liked Red Lobster. I'm not down on it like some people are. Speaking of the people, Charity McCurdy, we have a big question for the people this morning.
Yeah, we want to know who Trump's vice president should be and why. And we're asking you to use the iHeartRadio app, search the radio station, and hit that red talkback button. You have 30 seconds.
And we got one here that we will listen to. Let's listen to Kemper. Wow. Charity, what do you think of Dolly Parton as a running mate for Donald Trump?
Again, I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think it would be great. I think she's no nonsense. If anyone could keep Donald Trump in line, it would be Dolly. But again, I think she has no interest whatsoever.
Well, it's very intriguing. A Trump Parton ticket. And then if she ever became president, maybe Parton would pardon Donald Trump if there were any issues.
Hasn't she pretty much stayed out of politics? I mean, she's never been forthcoming with her, candidate of choice.
Yeah, I don't think she's made hardcore political statements over the years. Mm-hmm. But so talented and now a rock and roller, and as we know, a rock and roll Hall of Famer, Dolly Parton. Lots more coming up, including Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days at 6:48 at the bottom of the hour. Charity McCurdy with all the big stories you need to know on this Monday morning. WOAI News Time, 6:26. Woo! We are back. Tracy Bogert says Javier Salazar, the sheriff, having an unknown opponent makes me think he might break his own record of 454,000 votes. I do like Javier Salazar. I am with you on that, Mr. Tracy Bogert. Tim says, I don't remember Dolly Parton ever voicing her political opinion on anything. Same here. Nothing comes to mind, which is actually probably smart if you're an entertainer. As Michael Jordan once said, Republicans buy basketball shoes too. So, I mean, if you're an entertainer, unless you really feel that you have to take a stand on something. You look at how divided this country is. If you feel your mission is to entertain and not get involved, you have a wider net of people to entertain. And in her case, I think bring happiness to people. Let's see. My Siri talking to me for no reason. I didn't ask Siri anything. I'm not looking for anyone's contact info, Siri. Why are you asking me questions for no freaking reason? I have no idea why it's doing that. No rhyme or reason. We're going to do the Kyle, Texas thing. Oh, Charity's news is coming up.
.30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, bad weather is blamed for a helicopter crash that killed Iran's president. Michael Cohen is expected back on the stand in former President Trump's hush money trial, and a new warning about artificial intelligence. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 74 degrees. And we are following breaking news as an investigation is underway after a shooting involving San Antonio police last night. Police Chief William McManus says officers responded around 8 p.m. to a report of a man smoking marijuana at an apartment complex on La Cantera Terrace near I-10. McManus says on arrival, the officers found a stolen vehicle and parked behind it. McManus says the suspect smoking pot then attempted to flee in that stolen vehicle.
Since he couldn't back out of the parking space, he jumped the curb and drove toward the officers, which prompted them to fire their weapons at him.
The officers who fired their weapons have been in service for around 1 year prior to the incident. No word on the condition of the suspect. Well, bad weather in a remote location hampered the search for the bodies of Iran's president, foreign minister, and other officials after they died in a chopper crash Sunday in northwestern Iran. Here's Fox's Alec Hogan.
The fog and the rain really only complicated these search and rescue efforts. Teams in the region in this mountainous area had tried to rely on drones to be able to comb through some of the landscape searching for the president. But because, again, of the weather conditions, any kind of air search was impossible, and ground forces were the forces that they really needed to rely on, which of course just takes more time. All of this comes after a trip to the border with Azerbaijan, with the president Ibrahim Raisi meeting with his counterparts when that helicopter went missing.
Raisi was a hardliner who once was a member of Iran's judiciary, presiding over the execution of scores of dissidents back in the 1980s. As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, Governor Abbott and the National Rifle Association are both endorsing former President Trump to run for the White House. Abbott spoke on Saturday at the annual meeting of the NRA in Dallas. The three-term Republican governor touted his record of passing gun-friendly legislation since his unlicensed open carry. Here's former President Trump.
And let there be no doubt, the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. You know what they want to do. They're going to, if they get in, our country is going to be destroyed in so many ways, but the Second Amendment will be, it's under siege.
Trump urged gun owners to vote. Meantime, the testimony of former Trump lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen is expected to end today. Here's Fox's Brooks Singman.
Michael Cohen is expected to wrap his testimony at some point today, and unless former President Trump decides to testify in his own defense, the trial could be nearing the end. Now, the defense team is expected to complete cross-examination this morning after working to damage the credibility of the prosecution's star witness. Trump's attorney accused Cohen of lying on the stand and seeking revenge against Trump for not getting a job in the White House. During his testimony, Cohen admitted to a slew of lies, including falsifying invoices to the Trump Organization to get reimbursed for his payment to Stormy Daniels.
Trump faces 34 felony counts for falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments to Daniels. He's pled not guilty. Well, a state dinner and the commencement address at West Point, those are just a few highlights from the White House week ahead.
Today, the president speaks at a White House celebration of Jewish American Heritage Month. Tuesday, he's off to New Hampshire for what's being called an official event. After that, the president heads to Boston for 2 campaign receptions. On Wednesday, he meets with President William Ruto of Kenya. A state dinner slated for Kenya's president Thursday. Then on Saturday, President Biden gives the commencement address at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. The White House says he plans on thanking the graduates for their selfless service and defense of our nation. In Washington, Joel Nato, Fox News.
A newly introduced farm bill will change the formula by which food stamp benefits will be handed out. It would prevent the Agriculture Department from arbitrarily increasing SNAP benefits, which opponents say amounts to a backdoor funding cut.
It really hamstrings USDA's ability to make sure that SNAP benefits keep up with the cost of a healthy diet.
Celia Cole, who heads the group Feeding Texas, says even at the current levels, families are struggling with hunger. The Congressional Budget Office estimates this plan would result in $30 billion in SNAP cuts over the next decade. While San Antonio is growing faster than Austin, according to the latest Census Bureau data.
The data shows that nearly 22,000 new residents called San Antonio home. That's more than any other American city. Meanwhile, Austin is no longer a top 10 city in population, slipping to number 11. Jacksonville, Florida took the 10th spot. Dallas is in 9th place. San Antonio is 7th, while Houston hung on to its status as the 4th largest city in the U.S. Experts say the South, especially Texas, grew the fastest. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200, WOAI.
A man kept from becoming the first black astronaut more than 6 decades ago is now among the oldest people to go into space. The Jeff Bezos-owned Blue Origin flew 6 people on a space flight yesterday, taking off from Launch Site 1 in West Texas. Among those on board was 90-year-old sculptor Ed Dwight, a former Air Force pilot who had been on track to be part of the crew for a NASA space flight in the 60s. Dwight called the near 10-minute flight a life-changing experience. Sunday's flight was the first with the manned crew for the Blue Origin Space Company since the failed launch in 2022. Well, creator of artificial intelligence is warning against the technology. Here's Fox's Eben Brown.
One of the leaders of OpenAI, creators of ChatGPT, resigned from the company this past week. Jan Laika was running the company's special AI safety team called Super Alignment, but now he's posting on the X social platform that he felt OpenAI didn't take safety seriously enough, that the company is focused on, in Laika's words, shiny products, and that building smarter than human machines is inherently dangerous. The company's latest update to ChatGPT shows an AI that is more accurately able to mimic human speech cadences. Eben Brown, Fox News.
It is 6:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check if your money in the world of business. Scott Carr is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thanks, Scott. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news Charity McCurdy, Mr. T on vacation this week. He will be back next week. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days coming up at 6:48. If you're on the live video stream, you might even see him on our live stream. I'm going to try to get in the picture myself on that one. Charity, you've been reporting Kyle, Texas, failed once again to set the Guinness Book of World Records for having the most Kyles in one town at one time. The record was in Bosnia. What was the name in Bosnia? Was it Ivans?
Yes, Ivans. They were trying to have a world record for the number of Ivans gathering together.
And so, Charlie,
what kind of thing is that? Ivans and Kyle, they're not.
Well, no,
one's Ivans and one's Kyle.
So the record is for any name. So in the record is for any name. So in Bosnia, they had the most Ivans. In Bosnia, they had the most Ivans of anyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, man,
So
they
it's
can't
like-
have more than like maybe one Kyle in Bosnia.
Well, yeah, they were trying to gather all the Kyles in Kyle, Texas, and they were only able to do 706 Kyles gathered Saturday. So that fell short of what they were hoping to go for. I think they needed over like 2,300 people by the name of Kyle to break the record, the all-time record. So I guess they're going to keep trying because, they keep trying every year. But I think it's just cool to have, 700 other Kyles in the same area as you. I don't know any Kyles. Do you guys?
South Park.
Just one on South Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
What they tried this once before in Kyle, Texas, and they had 1,490 Kyles. So they've dropped by almost half.
Yeah.
Is that right? So they got roughly half of what they got. So they're going in the wrong direction.
Evidently, Kyles don't know how to throw a party.
Exactly.
You had 1,400 and then they cut in half 700, said, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
They need to
Some of
offer
those.
free food. The bar needs to be open, something to get everyone's attention that, hey, you need to be here. We got to set the record, and there's incentive.
Well, and to Charity's point, the name Kyle isn't as common as perhaps Charlie. Shouldn't some town that has Charleston or something, wouldn't they have a better chance getting a Charlie or a Charles and getting 2,325 to break the record than the name Kyle?
I like a party as much as anybody, but it just sounds kind of, mundane to me.
Yeah, and supposedly, I remember this from the last time Kyle did this, they were going to take a group photo. They were going to try to break the record. And then, I guess your high school photo, how you can get everybody into a big photo.
Uh-huh.
They were hoping to get a big photo of all those Kyles in one photo.
If you lose a Kyle, you can't scream out for them, right? Hey, Kyle! Everybody in the whole plane, 700 people turn around.
They should have a gathering of Chris's. Can you imagine the turnout for that?
That'd be a little frightening.
Oh.
So, hey, man, but unlike these Kyles who cut it in half this time, I'd show up.
Yeah.
Any reason to party.
You got to represent.
And get some weird notoriety. Why the heck not? All right, you just heard Charlie Parker. Coming up, Charlie Parker will have Those Were the Days. Charlie's going to join us in studio till 9 o'clock this morning. Lots more coming at you. WOAI News Time, 6:44. Hello, Facebook people. Or YouTube people. I said Facebook people. I meant YouTube people.
We get an OnlyFans page?
We should.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
That's what that South Park
I think it's,
was, and I had no clue
I think it's
what they
mainly
were
for
talking about.
It's mainly for porn. It's mainly women getting naked, and you subscribe and you give them money by subscribing.
Yeah, I figured that part out because that's what started that show.
Yes.
Some teacher missed a class because she had the school found out that one of their teachers had an OnlyFans page and that she was making $10,000 a week
Funny.
So at the assembly, everybody in the assembly wanted an OnlyFans page.
Nice.
Hey, yo.
I'll tell him. Charlie, watch you one more time.
I don't know how to turn this on.
He can't. He can't get that computer
I don't
started.
know where the power is on
laptop.
this.
So can they hear Charlie's "Those Were the Days"? How does that work for? They can't. So we just turn on our mic. Okay, cool. I got them up now. Then. Okay. Backyard smoker having Chick-fil-A sitting in the parking lot listening to the morning news. Thanks for listening, man. So do you want to start? Is there? Yeah, there's a weather after those were the days. Do you want to do that weather? If not,
Yeah.
so you're good. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Steve DeRocco in the house. The Rocket Man. What is up? I just saw that you're there, Steve DeRocco. Welcome. Tim is still in here. Louis, Echo 5 Hotel. You want to do, after those were the days, you want to do NBA? The fact that
I got all the sports stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If you want, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
Well, we'll do what we can get to in the next segment, and then I think in the 7 we got a lot of
So start with the NBA.
or anything. Let me see. See you, Bob. See you, Tim.
And here are some of the stories we're following for you. The death of Iran's president could have significant implications for Iran, Israel, and the wider region. Former President Trump's New York criminal hush money trial resumes today with Michael Cohen back on the stand. Last night, SAPD officers shot a man in the head who allegedly was trying to run them down in a stolen vehicle. We'll have details coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Mostly cloudy skies, early sunny in the afternoons for the first 3 days of the work week. Look for temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. Right now, Fredericksburg, 70 degrees, 71 in Kerrville, 74 in San Antonio.
San Antonio's first news, that is the voice of Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker is in studio. Charity McCurdy, Mr. T, Tim Merriman on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. I'm Chris Duell. Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon and running our live video stream on YouTube. Go to YouTube and look for 1200 WOAI. You not only can watch the video stream, but you can interact. You can talk to us and talk to other viewers on that live video stream. Charlie and Charity, last night in the NBA, 2 road teams won a Game 7. What are the odds of that happening in both NBA Game 7s yesterday? The Indiana Pacers knock off the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden in a rout, 130-109. And the Minnesota Timberwolves defeat the defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets, 98-90. And we talked about that, Charlie. I think we all agree, although I do kind of like the Nuggets. I'm ready for some new blood as far as an NBA champion.
Yeah, Minnesota I think that at one point that was a 30-point turnaround.
Wow.
Because they were down by 20 in the first half and came back to win that. You look at that, and of the 4 losses by Denver, 3 of them were at home, which was real surprising. I think that the Pacers were supposed to win that series. Knicks went into that, they had lost players, then they lost Porzingis, during the series. That pretty much put the nail in their coffin. I was kind of hoping for, an old school Knicks, Boston Celtics matchup, but it's not going to happen. So as a result of all of that, the NBA Conference Finals are set. First game is tomorrow night. That's the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston and Indiana. Boston has home court. And in the West, Dallas will be at Minnesota, and that series begins on Wednesday.
Is it okay that I'm kind of pulling for Dallas in that matchup? I mean,
I guess it's kind of okay. I mean, it's a Texas. You can do whatever you want to do.
I know.
I mean, don't expect me and Chris to follow along with you.
It's so weird. As a Spurs fan, we do have kind of that distaste for Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks. But I will say I've seen Cuban over the years do some really, really cool things for veterans. And so I mean, Cuban is a fun guy to hate from a sports hate standpoint, but I see where Charity's going on that. I do, though, kind of what I like about the Timberwolves in that series and in the whole Final Four here is small market, never won a title. Dallas did win a title several years ago for Mark Cuban back when Dirk Nowitzki was his big guy. So I do kind of like the Timberwolves story.
Well, and I kind of look at that story and kind of equate it to where I think the Spurs will be soon.
Yes.
Not immediately, but I mean, it didn't take an awful long time for the Timberwolves to rebuild.
No.
You know, they got Cat, and then they got Edwards.
Yeah,
who's
Anthony Edwards.
a young guy.
Yeah.
And built, brought in some people around him, Gobert and others around them, role players. And look at this. They're headed to the Western Conference Finals, and I think probably like a 3-4 year building process. So I'd like to I'm for Minnesota to win. I like an underdog most of the time, unless the underdog was Dallas. And Boston, Indiana, I don't really care.
No.
I have a nephew who's a Celtics fan, so I guess on his behalf, I don't mind. But I really don't care.
Okay, now here's where I'm a freak. Granted, the Celtics won 64 games this year in the regular season. Pacers only won 47. Celtics, I think, will be prohibitive favorites in that series. But Pacers, being an old school ABA guy, Denver was in only 4 teams from the ABA went to the NBA. Spurs, Nuggets, Nets, and Pacers. It would be kind of cool from that standpoint. And again, you could argue small market Indianapolis to see the Pacers beat the Celtics, but I don't think we're going to see it.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. But, who knows? Anything can happen. Somebody could get hurt.
Now, you brought up the Spurs. Of course, we now know the Spurs' position in the NBA draft. Do you think, Charlie, they will stay the course, keep going young, and keep rebuilding the Spurs team the way they did it last year? Or do you think this summer they might, because I wonder how impatient Wembanyama is getting as a superstar. Do you think they might begin to grab some veteran free agents or make a trade and try to win, try to go to the playoffs this coming season?
Well, Wemby's a smart kid. I don't think he's anywhere near being impatient. He knows that it's going to take a while. What the definition of a while is anybody's guess. I think the Spurs will do what the Spurs need to do. They'll go free agency market and try to get some veterans. I don't think they're going to go after a guy that's 32, 33 years old. They'll try to stay relatively young. I think they'll try to build through the draft and through free agency both. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some decent, semi-young veterans who are ready to move from where they're at. Some guys that I see out there that I like to have, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the Spurs, as I've said multiple times, and Pop I trust, whatever that organization, they're just too good and have been too good over the years of doing what they do, and they'll do it correctly.
Yeah, I still believe they know what they're doing. All right, I'll tell you what, Charity McCurdy is moments away from bringing you all the news you need to know. We got a big 7 o'clock hour, Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast at 7:20, and coming right up at 7:10 on a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This, a Donald Trump parody over the weekend from Saturday Night Live. That's pretty funny. We'll get you into that coming up. But right now, it is the top of the hour. Charity has all the big stories that are top of mind and trending right now. WOAI News Time is 7 o'clock.
Seven o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, an officer-involved shooting took place on the city's north side. Iran's president killed in a helicopter crash, and former President Trump's hush money trial resumes today. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 74 degrees. And we continue to follow breaking news as San Antonio police are investigating an officer-involved shooting at a far north side apartment complex that put a fleeing suspect in the hospital. Here's Eric Lycum with more.
They were called here for someone smoking marijuana at the pool.
SAPD Chief William McManus says his cops were called out around 7:15 last night to a complex at La Cantera Terrace and found a reported stolen car and parked behind it. McManus says as they went to investigate the pool call,
The suspect came out, got in the vehicle, jumped the curb to escape, and he drove right at the officers and they fired their weapons in response.
that unidentified suspect was taken to a local hospital in unknown condition. The two officers on the call had just over a year on the force and were not injured. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
City officials in Bernie are reporting the recovery of a man's body after he drowned in Bernie City Lake. A man from Leon Springs was reportedly fishing at the lake with some guests Saturday. That night, the man got into the water to cool down, but accidentally stepped into a deep area. His friends were unable to reach him, so they called 911. Dive teams found the man's body Sunday morning. Officials say alcohol is not believed to be a factor. Widespread power outages are still plaguing Houston following last week's powerful storm. Paul Locke of Centerpoint Energy says it'll be days before everyone is going to have the lights back on.
We've restored power to over 600,000 customers. And we've got, as of this morning, we had about 350,000 customers still out. We expect everyone to be back on by end of business Wednesday.
At least 7 people were killed as a result of the storm. Roads are still blocked with debris. Traffic lights are out and homeowners are still struggling to get toppled trees off their homes. Well, the president of Iran has been killed in a helicopter crash. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage.
President Ebrahim Raisi was traveling over Iran's northwest when his helicopter came down amid fog and heavy rain. After a massive hours-long search in mountainous terrain, news came through that he, Iran's foreign minister, and others were all dead. President Raisi was 63. Before their deaths were confirmed, there were prayer vigils in the capital, Tehran. Ebrahim Raisi was a hardline member of the judiciary before his rise to the presidency. His leadership was marked by increased repression at home and deepening hostility towards Israel. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, former President Trump visited Dallas over the weekend, where he spoke at the annual National Rifle Association Leadership Forum. Trump told the crowd that gun owners need to get out and vote this year, saying this election will be the most important in the history of our country.
We've got to get gun owners to vote because you know what? I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a form of rebellion because you're rebellious people, aren't you? But gun owners don't vote. What is that all about? But let's be rebellious and vote this time, okay?
And the chairman of the NRA gave him their official endorsement. Well, meantime, testimony will resume today in Trump's hush money trials. Here's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer.
Former President Trump's New York criminal trial could be coming to an end soon. His former attorney, Michael Cohen, will be back on the stand tomorrow for what is likely to be his final day of cross-examination. Cohen is believed to be the prosecution's last witness. If that is the case, the defense will have the opportunity to begin calling their own witnesses to the stand. If they decide not to, closing arguments could begin as soon as Tuesday.
Trump is being charged with falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments made to adult actress Stormy Daniels. He's denied the allegations. Well, rapper Sean Diddy Combs is responding to recently released surveillance video showing him assaulting his ex-girlfriend. Here's Fox's Christina Coleman.
Last November, Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against the music mogul, accusing him of subjecting her to a cycle of horrific abuse, including what she described as frequent savage beatings and sex trafficking. But Combs strongly denied those allegations. Well, now he is publicly apologizing for the violence seen in surveillance video from March of 2016. It shows Combs dressed in a towel as he beats his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The music mogul's public apology comes 2 days after this disturbing video went viral.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
This disturbing incident was referenced in the lawsuit that Ventura filed last November.
And lawyers for Ventura dismissed the apology as pathetic. It is 7:06. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news, Charlie Parker in studio, Charity McCurdy, Mr. T on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. I'm Chris Duell. Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon. And what a 7 o'clock hour we've got for you. Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. His take on the morning's big story. 7:40, national correspondent Rory O'Neill, the controversy about Justice Alito reportedly flying the American flag upside down after Biden won the election. We'll get into all of that and more. And coming up on a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This, Donald Trump holds auditions for vice president. Well, it was a Saturday Night Live parody. Well, we'll play that audio coming right up. But first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together.
It's deja vu all over again. Your Weather Channel 3-day forecast, mostly cloudy mornings, sunshine in the afternoons, highs in the mid to upper 90s, at least through Wednesday. 71 in Bernie, 72 in Pipe Creek, 74 in San Antonio.
Little Beatles for you in the morning. Compliments of Andrew Zimmel, who's flying the Millennium Falcon every morning at this time, every weekday morning at least. We bring you a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This. We span the globe to bring you the constant variety of audio. And you can imagine Saturday Night Live, it is election season. So both former President Trump and President Biden will be lampooned pretty much every weekend between now and Election Day in November and beyond. Saturday Night Live, it was a sketch about former President Trump, and he was holding auditions for vice president. Let's listen. There it is, Donald Trump parody on Saturday Night Live. I don't think Hannibal Lecter is actually in the running for vice president.
No, I guess that was a reference to comments he's made at recent rallies about the
Yes.
type of criminals that could potentially be coming across the border. That's why I don't watch Saturday Night Live. Although I will say the Trump impersonator, that is quite impressive. That's
Yeah.
pretty much spot on.
Charlie, do you watch Saturday Night Live anymore?
No.
No.
If that guy who does Trump does something and I hear about it, I'll go, on the Google machine and try to check it out.
Yeah.
He's good for a couple of chuckles, but the rest of the, little bits and pieces I see of the show, it's been bad for 20 years and it's still bad.
If something notable pops up on YouTube, I will go watch, but I won't sit there for 90 minutes.
I'd much rather watch, Janway or, Bassomatic. You go back to the old days and just pull something old.
Yes. News for the hard of hearing with
Church Lady.
Garrett Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great show back in the day. Coming up, Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, his take on the morning's big stories coming right up. WOAI News Time 7:15. All right, for the YouTube people, we had an audio issue as far as playing that back. So you should be able to hear Mike Opelka coming up, though. So assuming we have Opelka,
right?
I'll just bring him in and you go first.
Okay.
And then we'll go you, Charity, me, and this. We'll just go around that way. If for some reason he's not there, we might go. I'll ask you the last time you ate at Red Lobster. We might dive back into that Red Lobster bankruptcy. That's just a backup in case he's not here.
I don't have a problem with Red Lobster.
I don't. I'm not as down on it as.
I mean, it's not like, I go, oh, let's make sure we go to Red
Yeah.
Lobster this month. But,
But it's, I used to take my mom there. She used to like it. I do. Those butter biscuits are pretty damn good.
yeah, they are.
Is this thing on? How are you, brother?
Yeah, he may have. Okay, cool. So
I'm happy to be back. I am happy to be back. Thank
yeah, good. We are just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. Then Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, his thoughts on the morning's big stories. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
A man is hospitalized after he was shot by SAPD last night on the city's north side. The president of Iran, along with his foreign minister and several others, have been killed in a helicopter crash. And former President Trump picked up the endorsement of the NRA over the weekend as his hush money trial resumes today. We'll have the latest coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Once again, mostly cloudy early. Today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Sunshine in the afternoon. Today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Temperatures mid to upper 90s. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. 75 right now in New Braunfels. 71 in Kerrville. Still 75 degrees now in San Antonio.
Every weekday morning at this time, we check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. He's brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. And Mike, special in-studio guest, I think you know him, Mr. Charlie Parker.
Oh, we call him Charles Parker.
There you go.
Charles.
Sound like my mother now.
Well, if I use your middle name, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anybody in this country politically that's not on trial?
That's a really good question. I know I'm not. I don't think you are, but then we're not elected officials. But here you got Bob Menendez who's telling everybody the gold bars were gifts. It had nothing to do with political favors. Trump's back in court today. Hunter Biden's coming up with a couple of trials pretty quick. Yeah, you can't really swing a cat without hitting an elected official or a family member without, seeing them in trouble. And I'm not advocating cat swinging.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure.
Now, Mike, President Biden held a campaign event over the weekend, and if the turnout is any indication, he's in trouble.
Not only that, Charity, this was a fundraiser at a tea room in Atlanta, and you wouldn't have to take your pants off to count how many people were there. I was going to say shoes, but I think there were 20, so I didn't want to get to 21 for the guys. But the other troubling thing, when you see Donald Trump go somewhere, the motorcade is traditionally greeted by throngs of people on the sides of the road. Atlanta had almost nobody on the side of the road as the motorcade went by. It really looks like this is back to 2020 and the basement campaign.
And Mike, the Trump trial resumes today. We get more Michael Cohen on the stand. What do you think he's done for the prosecution thus far?
Well, I do think he hurt the case a little bit last week, and we're going to see after the defense lets him go, there will be another line of questioning from the prosecution where they're going to try and rehabilitate him. I don't know if they can bring him all the way back. I certainly think this has a chance to wrap up this week as early as Wednesday. And we'll find out, I guess, later today if there will be any chance Donald Trump will testify. I don't think so. I don't think they need him to testify. I don't think it's wise either. But Cohen has done some pretty damaging things for their case.
We're going to talk to Rory O'Neill, our national correspondent, about this story and Justice Alito here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. What do you make of this story?
It feels like pure politics, Charlie.
Sure.
They go after each one of the conservative Supreme Court justices. The left does, and the left-leaning media. They did it with Clarence Thomas and his wife, and now this is tied to Alito and specifically his wife. And I believe him that it was his wife. And I just wonder if they will have the same feelings if the tables are turned, if we start looking into the past of each and every member of the Supreme Court, especially the liberals. Will they suddenly go, hey, wait a minute, family members are off the table? But it just feels like it's pure politics ahead of the decision about immunity, which is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Do you think it was even intentional that is, if it was his wife, was it even intentional that she had the flag displayed upside down?
I tend to think she was giving her neighbor a message. The neighbor had some pretty strong anti-Trump messages, flags and signs in the yard. It kind of feels like they might be living in the same neighborhood Rand Paul does, where he's got the crazy neighbor. So it feels like maybe it was a reaction. You put up a flag that gives your neighbor the finger and took it down. Then I think that's okay, though. When do we get upset at opinions?
And Mike, I got to mention that P. Diddy disturbing surveillance video of him beating up his now ex-girlfriend. I mean, that is hard to watch. And if he can't be charged for that crime, you wonder, is it safe to say that he's officially been canceled?
I wonder, 50 Cent, who I don't converse with regularly, but he did post that it's over now for Diddy. He doesn't come back from this. And I thought, okay, that's the community telling him no. My questions, Charity, are where was this tape? Who had this tape? And why did they sit on it all these years now that the statute of limitations is over? And P. Diddy putting out that apology, that was really strange. He must have known that he couldn't be charged. But yeah, I think he's done. But if we can go back in time and charge people like Donald Trump in the E. Jean Carroll case, why can't the same be done for Diddy?
Good question. You can get a lot more Mike Opelka from his Pure Opelka podcast. You get it wherever you get your podcast. We recommend the free iHeartRadio app. Another episode will drop this morning, so you don't want to miss it. Mike is brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. And as Charlie mentioned to Mike, coming up at 7:40, national correspondent Rory O'Neill on this controversy involving Justice Alito flying the flag upside down in the aftermath of January 6th. We'll get more information, see what we know about that. Charity McCurdy coming up with everything you need to know here at the bottom of the hour. WOAI News Time 7:26.
Thanks, kids.
Cool. All right. Hello, YouTube people. Anybody new in here, welcome in. I got to plug in my laptop because the battery's dying so I can see you.
How do you even fly a flag upside down?
I guess you got to take it off and
Wouldn't
flip
it be backwards also? Well, unless it's like two-faced.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah. To me, he did. How did he sound to you?
yeah.
Okay.
Polo about like an echo.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that I didn't hear an echo, you guys didn't hear an echo.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask him tomorrow morning.
That's a good question. Okay.
What?
Sam Tobias is going through traffic in Houston. That's never fun.
No.
God.
I've got we get to it fine. If we don't, doesn't matter. I'm just, real life stuff. We've got a little baby fawn, probably about this big.
Wow.
Been living in our front yard.
Amazing.
Laying over by a tree for about 3 days. Sometimes it disappears.
Okay.
You'll go outside and go somewhere and it'll be gone. But then it comes back.
Okay.
And recently, and we've got so many deer in the neighborhood, it's crazy. And then yesterday I noticed it was gone, but then I went somewhere and I came back and it had moved over by my gate into the backyard and was just laying there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eva said, well, whatever you do, don't touch it because the mother won't. And I go, no, that's not true. So, of course, we had to look it up, and it's not true. The mothers will come back. And then she looked up some more, and there was like a video on abandoned fawn.
Interesting.
And you're supposed to leave them alone.
Okay.
The mothers the doe goes off somewhere and might be gone 12, 20 hours, and then they come back. What happens when they come back, I don't know because I haven't seen them come. But anyway, it's just
interesting.
I thought,
yeah,
well, maybe I'll at least take a bowl of water or something.
Yeah.
Then my son-in-law said, well, they won't drink it. It's got to be in a nipple.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, let's do that at 7:50.
They used to be one of my favorite animals.
But no longer? What turns you?
9,000 of
because
them
there's
in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Eating my bushes.
Yeah.
Walking, killing my grass, walking, trails in
Yeah.
my front yard. And
Yeah.
they're just freaking everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
It's nothing to look across the street and count 17 deer.
They're amazing.
In
Yeah.
1 yard.
Wow. Wow. We will talk deer with Charlie Parker. Fawn in his yard. I think we're going to cut to Charity here. Give you Charity's news. Cut to Charity. See you in a few. Charity's news is coming right up.
7:31 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, bad weather is blamed for a helicopter crash that killed Iran's president. Michael Cohen is expected back on the stand in Trump's hush money trial, and the CDC issues a warning about drownings. More ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 75 degrees. And we continue to follow breaking news as an investigation is underway after a shooting involving SCPD last night. Police Chief William McManus says officers responded around 8 p.m. to a report of a man smoking marijuana at an apartment complex on La Cantera Terrace near I-10. McManus says on arrival, the officers found a stolen vehicle and parked behind it. McManus says the suspect smoking then attempted to flee in that stolen vehicle.
Since he couldn't back out of the parking space, he jumped the curb and drove toward the officers, which prompted them to fire their weapons at him.
The officers who fired their weapons had been on the force for around 1 year prior to the incident. No word on the condition of the suspect. Well, bad weather and a remote location hampered the search for the bodies of Iran's president, foreign minister, and other officials after they died in a chopper crash Sunday in northwestern Iran. Here's Fox's Alex Hogan.
The fog and the rain really only complicated these search and rescue efforts. Teams in the region in this mountainous area had tried to rely on drones to be able to comb through some of the landscape searching for the president. But because, again, of the weather conditions, any kind of air search was impossible, and ground forces were the forces that they really needed to rely on, which of course just takes more time. All of this comes after a trip to the border with Azerbaijan, with the president Ibrahim Raisi meeting with his counterparts when that helicopter went missing.
And Raisi was a hardliner who once was a member of Iran's judiciary, presiding over the execution of scores of dissidents back in the 1980s. As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, Governor Abbott and the National Rifle Association both endorsed former President Trump's run for the White House. Abbott spoke on Saturday at the annual meeting of the NRA in Dallas. The three-term Republican governor touted his record of passing gun-friendly legislation, such as unlicensed open carry. Here's former President Trump.
And let there be no doubt, the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. You know what they want to do. They're going to, if they get in, our country is going to be destroyed in so many ways, but the Second Amendment will be, it's under siege.
Trump urged gun owners to vote. Meantime, Trump's New York criminal hush money trial is nearing an end. He'll be back in the courtroom this morning after the trial went dark Friday. Ex-Trump lawyer Michael Cohen is expected to be on the witness stand again for more grueling cross-examination about hush money paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels. The judge has told defense lawyers and prosecutors to be ready for closing arguments as soon as Tuesday. That all depends on whether Trump testifies. Well, a Fox News poll shows President Biden's support among minority voters could be slipping. Here's Fox Peter Ducey.
This Fox News poll shows his support with black voters has declined by 7 points from where he was in October 2020, while Trump's support with black voters has increased during that time 9 points. In an election that's only going to be decided by a few thousand votes in a handful of swing states, we saw him yesterday. He spoke in Atlanta, and then he went to Michigan. And instead of coming back here pretty late on a Sunday, they took him to Delaware, where he will remain until this afternoon. when he comes back to the White House.
And over the weekend, President Biden spoke at Morehouse College, a historically black college in Atlanta, where several students turned their backs on him to protest his administration's policy in the Middle East. The president told the crowd that he supports their right to peaceful, nonviolent protest. Well, newly filed legislation is trying to ban what backers are calling a weapon of war.
Pistols and even AK-47s pale in comparison to a massive 50 caliber rifle. The military uses them to take down helicopters that are more than 1 mile away, and Congressman Joaquin Castro wants them banned. He says this is far from a gun grab.
I don't think anybody's going to make the argument that a 50 caliber rifle is for home defense. This is like a military grade weapon.
The Texas Democrat says that 90% of the weapons used in Mexican shootouts come from the U.S., and cartels use this 50 caliber rifle to take on the military. So a ban here, he says, would decrease their power south of the border. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A popular but unofficial event with a troubled history in Galveston County turned deadly over the weekend. DPS troopers and Galveston County Sheriff's deputies responded to shootings at the Go Topless Jeep weekend on Crystal Beach. One person was shot in the chest and airlifted to a hospital where he died. A suspect was arrested. Another shooting victim was grazed in the head and treated on scene. Officials say 189 arrests were made as of Saturday morning.
Bolivar residents will be working together along with businesses, county and state officials to try to come up with a plan that's for the best for the Bolivar Peninsula.
Bolivar Chamber of Commerce President Brenda Flanagan tells KPRC while some businesses benefit from the event, others are fed up with the violence. Last year's Jeep weekend saw over 200 arrests and 40 people hospitalized. It is 7:38. Traffic and weather together in a minute. But first, to check of your money in the world of business, Scott Carr is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Scott. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's First News, Charlie Parker in studio, along with Charity McCurdy and me, Chris Duell. Controversy continues over that flag flying upside down at Justice Samuel Alito's home in January of 2021. Let's talk about it with national correspondent Rory O'Neill. Rory, for people who don't know about this story, give us the background. And we're missing Rory O'Neill. Okay. Well, Charlie, we were going to talk with Rory O'Neill.
You might have to bring him up on your end, Chris.
He is up.
We're trying that.
Okay.
He is up. The button is engaged. He might have. There he is.
Ah, there's Rory.
There is Rory. Sorry
Wrong
about
button, Duel.
I know, Rory, that was on me. But I'm going to blame Andrew Zimmel nonetheless. But it was really my fault. So let's start again, Rory. What do we know about this story?
I heard you. Yeah, the poor player who blames his instrument. Yeah,
Exactly.
This all started with a New York Times report that came out last week that did confirm, and the justice responded to questions by the Times, that yes, a flag was seen flying, an American flag flying upside down outside the home of Justice Alito in the days after January 6th. Apparently, according to the response the justice gave to the Times, it was his wife who flew the flag upside down after she became upset with a neighbor who posted a four-letter word with the name of a former president on a yard sign.
So what are ethics experts saying, Rory? Did this violate rules barring justices from displaying any political biases?
Well, that's the question, especially now, and does it extend to family members? We've seen this in the case of Justice Thomas and the work done by his wife, and now questions about the Justice Alito's wife. But here's what's new. There are pretty set rules if there are financial implications. If the spouse of a judge were to have had a previous or ongoing business relationship, if money's involved, the lines are pretty clear. But when it's political opinion, political thought, that's where we're in this gray zone.
According to U.S. code for the United States flag, it should never be displayed upside down, quote, except as a signal of dire distress in instances of extreme danger to life or property. So whether she did it intentionally, it was accidentally, it shouldn't have been upside down. All of that said, 3 years ago, this photograph, the photograph that we're looking at from the New York Times happened 3 years ago, January of 2021, and we're just now hearing about it.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. I guess the Times only recently learned of it and got the confirmation from the justice himself. Just goes to show you, we need more newspaper reporters out there. So pick up a copy of your local paper.
And of course, Democrats are saying, Rory, that the justice needs to recuse himself from any decisions involving Donald Trump. I imagine fat chance on that. Wouldn't that be the case?
That is a good way to describe it. Because now, again, with Justice Thomas and his wife and the work that she had done with some of the people who were involved in what happened on January 6th, that's why there are these Democrats pulling their hair out, afraid that the Supreme Court is becoming too politicized in a way that they don't like.
My God, this country's getting worse than I thought it was.
And Roy, are there any plans to hold hearings over this incident?
I don't. Yeah, we'll see. It seems unlikely that there'll be specific hearings on this, but perhaps in the Senate. Don't forget, the Republicans control the House, so they're not going to allow any hearing to move forward. So, and it seems unlikely. Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator from Rhode Island in the Senate, has been very vocal in his criticism of the court and its outside influences. So, look for him to stir the pot the most.
Our thanks to national correspondent Rory O'Neill. As we roll forward, a baby animal in Charlie Parker's yard for multiple days. What kind of an animal is it? What is Charlie going to do about it? That and more coming up. WOAI News Time is 7:46. Oh, that's okay. So I'm going to assume now it is phone 2 for the other people. Okay. Okay. No big deal. I'm just glad we got him. I thought maybe, my first thought was, since he wasn't hearing anything, that he just said that's not how it normally sounds, so he jumped out. But luckily we had him, so it all worked. Now we know. Now we know. It's good. No big deal. So apparently Wade Phillips will be in studio with Andy Everett today. Andrew tells me, yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Be sure to tune in. Sure, he's a riveting interview. Pretty amazing. He's coming here though. Shows you they're looking for all the help they can get. It's how many minutes? Yikes.
You want to try to find like the best 2 minutes, and then I can just throw it to, hey, this is Trump outside the courthouse. I'll give you 2 minute cut.
If you can find 2 minutes, we'll do it after Pags at 8:40 because we're going to go Charlie here on his, and then we got Decker and Aaron in the next. So we'll like any 2 minutes you want to find.
We have plenty for as long as you want. So you want 2:30, 2?
Yeah, give me 2-ish. Just find a good in and a good out. Okay, but and 8:40 after Pags. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, and then wildlife in Charlie Parker's yard, baby wildlife. What is it? What is he going to do about it? We're about to find out. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
The death of Iran's president could have significant implications for Iran, Israel, and the wider region. Former President Trump's New York criminal hush money trial resumes today with Michael Cohen back on the stand. And last night, SAPD officers shot a man in the head who allegedly was trying to run them down in a stolen vehicle. We'll have details coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Sunny afternoons today, tomorrow, and on Wednesday. All 3 days, look for temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. Magic number is 75. It's 75 in Seguin, 75 in Almas Park, 75 in San Antonio. WOAI news time is 7:52.
San Antonio's first news. If the magic number is 75, do you remember Jethro Pugh? I'm sure you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody talked about Bob Lilly on that Dallas Cowboys defensive line, and they should.
Sure.
But Jethro Pugh, I think on any other team, would have gotten a whole lot more run because he was a hell of a defensive lineman for the Cowboys in that Landry era.
He autographed a jersey for me many, I think Jordan was like 3.
Nice.
And I gave it to her when she was like 3.
Yeah.
And she still has it to this day.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I love it. The late, great Jethro Pugh. All right, Charlie Parker, wildlife nesting, if I can use that term, in your
I think
yard.
that's probably right.
It might
Yeah.
be. So what's in your yard? How long has it been there? And what are you going to do about it?
It is a baby fawn. Well, I guess all fawns are babies to some degree.
Yeah.
Let me preface everything by saying once upon a time, squirrels and deer were among my favorite animals. And now I do not like either.
Ooh.
Squirrels chew up wires that we hang up, lights in the back. They chew those up. They chew up flags that we put up. Deer are just way too many in our neighborhood. Way too many. I counted the other day 17 deer across the street in my neighbor's yard. Okay, anyway.
That's a lot of deer.
So I'm thinking this was about 3 days ago, probably Friday. I saw something in my front yard over by the tree, and I thought, okay, well, it's a clump of a nest fell out or something. So I went over there to look at it, and it was a fawn.
Whoa.
A really small fawn. So I came inside and told my wife, hey, we got a baby deer out there in the front yard. Well, don't touch it, because if you touch it, the mother's not going to come back. Well, that's BS. Of course, she didn't believe me. We had to look it up, and it's BS. Think about that. A mother's not going to abandon its baby because you or I or Charity touched it. Anyway, I had no plans on touching it anyway. Well, it was there from like Friday until Saturday. Then Saturday, I went out to look again, and it was gone. So, okay, well, the mother came back and got it, blah, blah, blah. Yesterday, it was back. But it wasn't, early it was where I had seen it originally. I went to HEB, and when I came back, it was gone. And then as I'm parking my car in the driveway, I look over, it had moved over next to my driveway and was laying next to my fence that goes into the backyard. Well, don't touch it because okay, never mind. I'm not going to go down that road again. I thought maybe I'll give it some water. So the text all started amongst, a whole bunch of people. My son-in-law says it won't take water. You're going to have to put it, you're going to have a nipple. Well, I know I'm a new grandfather, but I don't have any baby bottles laying around the house. So I didn't do anything. And Eva looked up a, Texas wildlife thing on the internet. And it says that that's normal behavior. The mother will be gone sometimes for 12 hours or more, and they come back. Don't do anything. Don't feed them. Don't touch them. Don't hang around them. The mom will be back eventually. So just, trying to enlighten you on the wildlife of Texas.
So, Charity, if you had a fawn in your yard, how would you have approached it?
I probably would have left it alone, done my quick Google research to make sure I wasn't tempted to try to feed it. I always wanted a pet deer, but I think that's illegal in the state of Texas. But I don't know. I'd be checking on it frequently because they're just adorable. They're adorable animals.
I don't know if it's illegal, but they once again the video we found said just leave them alone. Don't touch them, even though the mother will come back. I'd be afraid of getting bit or something. And, the next thing you know, I'm getting rabies shots.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You talked about, Charlie, not liking squirrels because they'll chew on wires, they'll chew on flags. I have a brother-in-law who goes all Christy Gnome on he's got a BB gun and he sits in his backyard, and when he sees a squirrel, he shoots and kills the squirrel. I'm not proud of that he's related to me. He's a brother-in-law, so he's not blood relation, but it's like a sport for him. He enjoys killing squirrels who dare show up on his property.
He could just drive down the street in his car, and there's a good chance he could run one over. I mean, they're not too smart when it comes to getting out of the way. I've
never hit a squirrel.
I don't think I have either.
I haven't either.
I've never shot a squirrel.
I've had, dozens upon dozens run in front of my automobile, but they seem to do a good job in my neighborhood of staying out of the way, or at least outrunning my car.
Yep. All right, coming up, Aaron Real, national correspondent. A lot of us are delaying major purchases. That's having a big impact on the economy and companies. She's going to walk us through what's going on there. Then 8:20, White House correspondent and attorney John Decker, what we can expect today, and will the jury get the case this week in the Donald Trump hush money trial? That's all coming your way. Charity McCurdy with all the news you need to know at the top of the hour. WOAI News Time 7:58. Sleepy says stewed squirrel is really good. I've never eaten squirrel, to my knowledge.
Well, the Clampetts liked it.
That's right. Granny could cook up a good squirrel. Travis says does can kick. I've seen does chase off coyotes. Wow. That's got to be a sight.
Well, that was interesting because that's one of the things that they put in the video. Just, don't touch it. The mother won't come back, though. However, think of it this way. Would a doe abandon its child if a wolf came or a coyote came and touched it? No.
Right.
So.
Yeah, good point.
Is that handy, so lady?
That's what I hear. I hear they're a thing. They're not married, but I hear they have a thing. So, yeah. I lost respect for her. Charity McCurdy has the news coming up. And if we're on time in about 30 seconds or so. But we went a little late. So she might get to us. She might get to the news a little bit late. So there's that. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Welcome in. You can always leave comments. We tend to react to whatever you are telling us in the chat. So thanks for that. Let's see, I got a promo here. Where can I download that? Download. Now, where did it download? Not showing me where it downloaded. There it is. And we are in. Oh, I see what we're doing. Okay. So can I go desktop on that? I can't put it there. So let me see if I can put it in download.
8:01 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, an officer-involved shooting on the city's north side. Iran's president killed in a helicopter crash, and former President Trump's hush money trial resumes. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Get a move on. It is 75 degrees. And we are following breaking news as San Antonio police are investigating an officer-involved shooting at a far north side apartment complex that put a fleeing suspect in the hospital.
They were called here for someone smoking marijuana at the pool.
SAPD Chief William McManus says his cops were called out around 7:15 last night to a complex at La Cantera Terrace and found a reported stolen car and parked behind it. McManus says as they went to investigate the pool call,
The suspect came out, got in the vehicle, jumped the curb to escape, and he drove right at the officers and they fired their weapons in response.
that unidentified suspect was taken to a local hospital in unknown condition. The two officers on the call had just over a year on the force and were not injured. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Widespread power outages are still plaguing Houston following last week's powerful storm. Paul Locke of CenterPoint Energy says it'll be days before everyone is going to have the power back on.
We've restored power to over 600,000 customers. And we've got, as of this morning, we had about 350,000 customers still out. We expect everyone to be back on by end of business Wednesday.
At least 7 people were killed as a result of the storm. Roads are still blocked with debris. Traffic lights are out and homeowners are struggling to get toppled trees off their homes. The president of Iran has been killed in a helicopter crash. Here's Fox's Jonathan Savage with details.
President Ebrahim Raisi was traveling over Iran's northwest when his helicopter came down amid fog and heavy rain. After a massive hours-long search in mountainous terrain, news came through that he, Iran's foreign minister, and others were all dead. President Raisi was 63. Before their deaths were confirmed, there were prayer vigils in the capital, Tehran. Ebrahim Raisi was a hardline member of the judiciary before his rise to the presidency. His leadership was marked by increased repression at home and deepening hostility towards Israel. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, former President Trump visited Dallas over the weekend, where he spoke at the annual National Rifle Association Leadership Forum. Trump told the crowd that gun owners need to get out and vote this year, saying this election will be the most important in the history of the country.
We've got to get gun owners to vote because you know what? I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a form of rebellion because you're rebellious people, aren't you? But gun owners don't vote. What is that all about? But let's be rebellious and vote this time, okay?
The chairman of the NRA gave Trump their official endorsement. A member of former President Trump's defense team will cross-examine Michael Cohen for one more day, as closing arguments for the New York hush money trial could come as soon as tomorrow. Here's Fox's Brooke Stingman.
Trump's attorney accused Cohen of lying on the stand and seeking revenge against Trump for not getting a job in the White House. During his testimony, Cohen admitted to a slew of lies, including falsifying invoices to the Trump Organization to get reimbursed for his payment to Stormy Daniels. He said he labeled it a $35,000 per month retainer fee. He also admitted to opening a bank account for a business that he really used to make hush money payments to Daniels. Once the defense completes cross-examination, the prosecution will get the chance to try and patch up any doubts the defense may have sown in the minds of jurors about their witness. Brooke Singman, Fox News.
Well, data from the U.S. Census Bureau says San Antonio is growing faster than Austin. The Alamo City added nearly 22,000 more people than any other city in the U.S. in 2023. Austin, meantime, dropped out of the list of the nation's top 10 most populous cities. The capital city now comes in at 11th, with Houston at number 4, San Antonio in 7th place, and Dallas at number 9. It is 8:06. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news. Charlie Parker in studio, Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T on vacation. He is at the coast this week. He'll be back next week. Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon, and he is the technical director of our live video stream. If you want to see us, you go to YouTube, go to 1200 WOAI on YouTube. You can not only watch the live video stream, you can chat, you can comment, you can interact. Coming up, it'll be Aaron Rial, our national correspondent, on what effect it's having on companies that so many Americans are putting off big purchases. Then at 8:20, White House correspondent and attorney John Decker on what we can expect today and this week in the Trump hush money trial. Will the jury get the case this week? We'll talk about that coming up. But first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together.
Mostly cloudy this morning, sunshine this afternoon. Look for a high in the mid to upper 90s. Same story tomorrow and on Wednesday. Right now in Lavernia, 75 degrees. Schertz, 76. San Antonio, 75. WOAI News Time, 8:11.
San Antonio's first news. We like talking about money and the economy with national correspondent Erin Real. She's tracking a story on how so many consumers are delaying big purchases and what effect these are having on companies across America. It would seem to me, Erin, that if many of us are putting off the big purchases, that can't be good for major companies.
No, it is not. It's having a huge impact on corporate earnings, and this might be the economic indicator that the Fed needs to potentially, maybe, possibly lower rates later this year. But what this really tells us is that anything you're going to finance, whether it be a washer dryer, an in-ground pool, or a new home, those are the items that Americans say, okay, maybe we won't do this. Maybe we'll hold off on it. They're delaying the spending for home improvements, for electronics, for mattresses. All of these things, again, that you would normally put on credit, they're saying, no, we'll wait until the rates are better.
Other than pools, mattresses, washers and dryers, any other high ticket items that are seeing big increases?
Homes as well. And then also just basically this all goes with this K-shaped economic recovery. I love this descriptor. It means that the experience of the different classes diverge like the arms of the letter K. And let me use pools as an example, but it applies to almost everything else. So what we see is that in pools, the largest pool manufacturers in the U.S. say that those on the higher end of the economic spectrum, the fancier pools, no problem. They're still moving pretty steadily. The lower end pools, they're almost completely dried up in terms of demand. And this is like, any sort of other major electronic item or cars or anything like that. If you want to finance it, the rates are just so high right now that a lot of folks are saying, let's not do it.
And I know we have Memorial Day weekend coming up. Erin, is there a better time to buy big ticket items, or are people just turning to cheaper merchants?
For now, it's not even like should I wait until Memorial Day, unless you really, really need the thing. That's a different circumstance. But it's like, okay, how much longer will the washer dryer work? If it's not an immediate necessity, people are willing to wait. They want to wait. They don't want to have to go out there and put down all this money on something that really they're not going to see a major return on. And then beyond that, it's just so expensive right now. And with the anticipation that rates might be coming down in the near future, there's really not a lot of value add in terms of buying it at the moment, as opposed to waiting to interest rates potentially come down. And again, these are the type of economic indicators that the Fed needs to ultimately lower rates. And we've been sitting between 5.25% to 5.5%. That is the Fed funds rate, which weighs on all of their interest rates, for at least 10 months now. It's historically high, and people are willing to wait a second till it comes down.
Our thanks to national correspondent Erin Real. As we roll forward, coming right up, White House correspondent and attorney John Decker. What's next in the Trump hush money trial? And will that jury get the trial for a decision this week? We'll get into that and a whole lot more coming up. And we'll hear from the former president as he walks into that courtroom coming up a little bit later as well. WOAI News Time, 8:14. We're watching Wade Phillips on the Fox 29 broadcast.
We kill time before.
Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. And Charlie Parker, we were just talking off the air. Among the celebrity deaths over the weekend, Grammy-winning saxophonist David Sanborn was 78. He had been battling prostate cancer, and we lost him over the weekend, and you've got a few others.
Johnny Barbada, might be Johnny Barbada, who started out playing with the Turtles way back in the 60s. He passed away at the age of 79. Now, he died on May 8th, but it's taken a while before the word got out. He was also a drummer for Jefferson Airplane and later Jefferson Starship, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. He had to quit Jefferson Starship way back after he did 4 albums with them, and then he had a car accident, broke his neck, broke his arm, and fractured his jaw into 32 pieces.
My God.
And that took him out of the music business. Again, May 8th, he died at the age of 79. You had Dabney Coleman over the weekend. Everybody remembers him from 9 to 5, which was an outstanding movie. And just announced that on Saturday, former United States men's hockey standout Mark Wells, he was number 15 for the American squad that won the gold medal in hockey at the 1980 Winter Olympics. All of them.
So sad. Coming up, John Decker with what we can expect next in the Trump trial. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
A man is hospitalized after he was shot by SAPD last night on the city's north side. The president of Iran, along with his foreign minister and several others, have been killed in a helicopter crash. And former President Trump picked up the endorsement of the NRA over the weekend as his hush money trial resumes. We'll have more coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Unless something drastic happens, here is your weather forecast that you're going to hear over the next 3 days, a couple of dozen times. Cloudy mornings, sunny afternoons, highs in the mid to upper 90s. Almas Park 76, Seguin 76, San Antonio 76, and WOAI news time is 8:22.
San Antonio's first news, that is Charlie Parker. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell, and let's talk a little Trump hush money trial now with White House correspondent and attorney John Decker. And John, I understand we're going to get more Michael Cohen on the stand today.
That is correct. He will be on the witness stand for the third day. Last time we heard from Michael Cohen was Thursday of last week. And the idea here, as far as Todd Blanche is concerned, he's the lead defense attorney for Donald Trump, is to further diminish Michael Cohen's credibility in the eyes of that jury. So we can expect to see and hear more of that cross-examination of Michael Cohen today, and then there will be an opportunity to redirect. Prosecution will try to rehabilitate the credibility of Michael Cohen in the eyes of that 12-person jury, try to connect the dots even further between what it is that Michael Cohen has alleged and these alleged crimes of Donald Trump, the 34 counts of falsifying business records associated with this trial.
John, you mentioned third day for Cohen on the stand. When you're talking about day, how many actual hours are they in that courtroom on any given day?
Oh, well, on any given day, typically we're talking about from about 10 a.m. Eastern time until the break for lunch, but they break at the end of the day around 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And that it can be kind of exhausting if you are that person on the witness stand for all of that time. And I think we saw that a little bit of that last week with Michael Cohen. He seemed to tire out towards the end of his testimony on Thursday of last week.
And John, it's looking like closing arguments are now expected next week, not tomorrow, as we originally thought. What's the most likely outcome for this case? An acquittal, mistrial, conviction? What do you see?
It's so difficult to say, in the sense that we are not in that courtroom. I'm not in that courtroom. You're not in that courtroom. It's up to those 12 jurors in terms of whether or not they believe the testimony of Michael Cohen and Mr. Pecker from the National Enquirer, Stormy Daniels. These are all the primary witnesses that the prosecution has put on as far as making its case, but they're all flawed witnesses. And so that's based upon what we even know about them beyond their testimony itself. It's a difficult case to make. And remember, you need to get unanimous verdicts from these 12 jurors on these 34 counts beyond a reasonable doubt. That's always difficult in a criminal case. And I think it's difficult in this particular case because of the witnesses that we just described.
And John, we're hearing from former President Trump talking to the media before and after each day's proceeding. What do you think the odds are jury members are able to see that? And might he be actually influencing them with those statements to the press?
Well, I think that's what he's trying to do. But I believe that the jurors stand by their pledge that they've made under oath to the judge in this case, and that is that they will refrain from tuning into the news throughout this trial. So although you and I, depending upon what cable channel we're watching, may see those comments made by Donald Trump either before he goes into that courtroom or when he comes out at the end of the day, the jury itself is not seeing or hearing Donald Trump in any way whatsoever when he makes those remarks.
He is White House correspondent and attorney John Decker covering the Trump hush money trial. We'll talk to him again tomorrow. Coming up at 8:40, Joe Pags. We'll get a preview of the Joe Pags show, and we will hear comments from former President Donald Trump as he walked into that courtroom earlier this morning. Charity McCurdy at the bottom of the hour with everything you need to know. WOAI News Time, 8:26. All right.
Well,
Good morning, Kay.
That was espousing the obvious, wasn't it? Well, it depends on how who the jury
Right.
believes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the way this country is divided, to assume you're going to get 12 jurors, even if they heard compelling evidence,
Right,
I think that's a long shot. Sleepy with fried raccoon is also good, but you have to clean a young one. When they are older, they get really tough. Ouch. All right. Sleepy has had raccoon and squirrel. Charity's got the news coming up. Anybody newly into the video stream, good morning. Kay says, and I got to put 3 dots there to move it up because it's blocked by a little heart button. Kay says, my 92-year-old dad has been wanting me to make squirrel dumplings, and it ain't happening. I can understand that. Did you get McDonald's on the way in?
Yeah.
Were they open at that hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
That one over there.
Okay.
24 hours.
Wow, I didn't realize.
Sent me a copy last week for a factory mattress.
Yeah.
And how they want to thing called. I can't remember how they put it. All veterans and emergency emergency first responders who gave so much for the country, whatever.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna put it in my own words. So I had to text them back. But well.
8:30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Monday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, bad weather is blamed for a helicopter crash that killed Iran's president. Michael Cohen is expected back on the stand in Trump's hush money trial, and a new warning about the rise of drowning deaths. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Monday: morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, a high of 95. Tonight's low near 75. Right now, 76 degrees. And we continue to follow breaking news as an investigation is underway after a shooting involving San Antonio police last night. Police Chief William McManus says officers responded around 8 p.m. to a report of a man smoking marijuana at an apartment on La Cantera Terrace near I-10. McManus says on arrival, the officers found a stolen vehicle and parked behind it. McManus says the suspect smoking pot then attempted to flee in that stolen vehicle.
Since he couldn't back out of the parking space, he jumped the curb and drove toward the officers, which prompted them to fire their weapons at him.
The officers who fired their weapons had been on the force for around a year prior to the incident. No word on the condition of the suspect. Well, bad weather in a remote location hampered the search for the bodies of Iran's president, foreign minister, and other officials after they died in a chopper crash Sunday in northwestern Iran. Here's Fox's Alex Hogan.
The fog and the rain really only complicated these search and rescue efforts. Teams in the region in this mountainous area had tried to rely on drones to be able to comb through some of the landscape searching for the president. But because, again, of the weather conditions, any kind of air search was impossible, and ground forces were the forces that they really needed to rely on, which of course just takes more time. All of this comes after a trip to the border with Azerbaijan, with the President Ibrahim Raisi meeting with his counterparts when that helicopter went missing.
And Raisi was a hardliner who was once a member of Iran's judiciary, presiding over the execution of scores of dissidents back in the 1980s. As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, Governor Abbott and the National Rifle Association both endorsed former President Trump's run for the White House. Abbott spoke on Saturday at the annual meeting of the NRA in Dallas. Here's former President Trump.
And let there be no doubt, the survival of our Second Amendment is very much on the ballot. You know what they want to do. They're going to, if they get in, our country is going to be destroyed in so many ways, but the Second Amendment will be, it's under siege.
And Trump urged gun owners to vote. Meantime, Trump's hush money trial will resume this morning, but the former president spoke to the press beforehand.
You know, they go through all this stuff, and there was nothing done wrong. NDAs are perfect. And by the way, legal expenses, we paid a legal expense. You know what it's marked down in the book says? A legal expense. Again, it's not marked down as construction. It's not marked down as sheetrock and cinder block. It's marked down as legal expense. You have a lawyer. You pay him a legal expense, and it's covered in the book as legal expense. I had nothing to do with it. A bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense.
Trump faces 34 felony counts for falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments to a porn actress. He's pleaded not guilty. Well, a state dinner and the commencement address at West Point. Those are just a few highlights from the White House week ahead.
Today, the president speaks at a White House celebration of Jewish American Heritage Month. Tuesday, he's off to New Hampshire for what's being called an official event. After that, the president heads to Boston for 2 campaign receptions. On Wednesday, he meets with President William Ruto of Kenya. A state dinner slated for Kenya's president Thursday. Then on Saturday, President Biden gives the commencement address at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. The White House says he plans on thanking the graduates for their selfless service and defense of our nation. In Washington, Joel Nadeau, Fox News.
Well, San Antonio is growing faster than Austin, according to the latest Census Bureau data.
The data shows that nearly 22,000 new residents called San Antonio home. That's more than any other American city. Meanwhile, Austin is no longer a top 10 city in population, slipping to number 11. Jacksonville, Florida took the 10th spot. Dallas is in 9th place. San Antonio is 7th, while Houston hung on to its status as the 4th largest city in the U.S. Experts say the South, especially Texas, grew the fastest. Eric Lycum, News Radio 1200, WOAI.
A man kept from becoming the first black astronaut more than 6 decades ago is now among the oldest people to go into space. The Jeff Bezos-owned Blue Origin flew 6 people on a space flight yesterday, taking off from Launch Site 1 in West Texas. Among those on board, 19-year-old sculptor Ed Dwight, a former Air Force pilot who had been on track to be part of the crew for a NASA space flight in the 60s. Dwight called the near 10-minute flight a life-changing experience. Sunday's flight was the first with the manned crew for the Blue Origin Space Company since a failed launch in 2022. Well, the CDC is out with the warning that drowning deaths in the U.S. are on the rise.
A new study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that after decades of decline, drowning deaths are on the rise. It found that more than 4,500 people died due to drowning each year from 2020 to 2022. That's 500 more per year compared to 2019. The report also included data on self-reported swimming skills, participation in swimming lessons, and exposure to recreational water. Drowning is the number 1 cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4. The CDC says accessible swimming lessons save lives and report more than 40 million U.S. adults don't know how to swim, and more than half have never taken a swimming lesson. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
It is 8:38. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money and the world of business, Scott Carr is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. Thanks, Scott. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news, Charlie Parker in studio, Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T has the week off. He's at the coast. He'll be back next week. Andrew Zimmel doing all the heavy lifting. In a moment, we'll hear comments from former President Trump as he walked into that Manhattan courtroom this morning. But first, let's check in with a man who's keeping an eye on all the big stories, including that helicopter crash that killed the Iranian president. That would be Joe Pags. Good morning, Joe. You too, Joe. That is 5 to 8 p.m. every weekday, including today for the Joe Pags Show. Well, earlier this morning, the former president walked into that Manhattan courtroom for another day of that Trump trial involving the money fraud, the payments to Stormy Daniels, the hush money trial. Let's listen in on some of his comments from earlier this morning. Former President Donald Trump speaking this morning as he walked into the courtroom. And Charlie, you and I were talking off the air just a few minutes ago. As John Decker told us in the last half hour, he reminded us 12 jurors have to agree that he's guilty to be found guilty, even if the evidence supported that. And a lot of people are questioning that. This country is so divided. For 12 jurors to vote the same way in this case, I don't see it happening.
Who knows? Charity asked John about, what were his thoughts on the outcome of this. And I love the answer, which was paraphrasing here. Well, it depends on who the jury believes. Well, isn't that the case in every trial that takes place?
Yes.
It depends on who the jury believes. And once again, remember, when this one's over, there are 3 more to go. He's got a federal election interference trial, a Georgia election interference trial, a classified documents case coming. I mean, there's 3 more to go. So I guess the same, thought process that John told us about would apply. It depends on what the jury believes.
But Charity, the big question is, and what we're hearing is none of those other 3 would take place before the November election. So if he's reelected, can he make those go away?
Yeah, I mean, he would be in charge of the Justice Department. I would think that he could pardon himself. Who knows? But, as far as the hush money case, I don't know if I see clear cut whether or not the prosecution has proven that Trump falsified those business records in furtherance of a separate crime, which is what they're hoping to convince the jury of. I just don't see this working out for the prosecution. But, like Charlie said, there's other cases ahead for the former president that he has to worry about that are probably bigger concerns than this one.
Well, how do we know that? Going back to what Decker said, none of us are in that courtroom.
True.
None of us know anyone who's in that courtroom. There are no journalists, so to speak, in that courtroom, right? So how do we know what's other than what somebody guesses or tells us after, each day in court? We don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, there are the journalists who can't, there's no cameras, but they can tweet out. There's like live tweeting of what we're hearing in the courtroom. So they, CNN or Fox will do a live. In fact, right now we're looking at Fox News, and they're in the little red box in the corner to the right. They're showing what's happening. That's because they're from the inside. There's people putting the word out, but there can't be live audio or
But
video.
even then, they're just telling us what they're hearing.
True. Yeah.
They're not giving. Well, journalists today certainly aren't telling us something and not giving us their opinion. I can't. It's just, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not paying close attention.
Well, we'll continue to let you know when there are developments. We'll get you caught up on headlines, traffic, and weather coming right up. WOAI News Time 846.
I can't remember if you were still here when I brought this up or not.
Mm-hmm.
We all know he slept with that woman.
Yes.
We all know that he paid that woman to be quiet.
Yes.
So what is the question? Where the money came from? How they...
Did he try to hide the money and make it look like it was... Did he use campaign money and try to hide...
Did he use illegal funds?
Yeah, they're trying to say it was a campaign finance violation, that he took campaign finance money and diverted it without being transparent about it. So, but no, to your point, how many powerful men in corporations, in politics, everywhere have had an affair that they have covered up?
Right.
We got the mics back on for the moment. We're running a little late, but that's normal. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. Lots more to come. But right now, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you tracking?
Michael Cohen is back on the stand today in former President Trump's hush money trial. A man who allegedly drove a stolen vehicle towards police was shot in the head on the city's northwest side. And more than 200,000 Houston residents are still without AC and lights following last week's deadly storm. We'll have the latest coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Cloudy mornings, sunny afternoons for at least the first 3 work days of this week. Look for temperatures around 95, maybe a little bit warmer. 77 right now in Lavernia, 73 at my grandbaby's house in Buda, 76 here in San Antonio, and WOAI news time is 8:53.
San Antonio's first news, that is the voice of Charlie Parker. Charity McCurdy on board. Mr. T on vacation. He'll be back next week. And Charity, by the way, if you didn't see it, Kay in our live chat, Kay is usually joining us, which is very, very cool. Kay says, tell Charity I love her lip color.
Oh, thank you, Kay. Appreciate it.
So you normally don't get that in radio.
No.
I love your lip color because normally in old school radio, they didn't see you. Care to tell the class what lip shade that is? Do you know off the top of your head? Or?
I'd have to look at tiny print on a label. Oh, here we go. Honest Berry.
Honest Berry.
Yeah.
Very nice.
What the hell is that?
I know. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Are there dishonest berries?
Right. Yeah. You don't want dishonest berry. That could be rough.
What a job to have. Just come up with names for different colors, like
Yeah.
nail polish, lipstick, blush. That would be awesome.
You know what would be a better job? The person who comes up with the names for these new strains of marijuana.
Ooh.
That's the job I want.
Yes. There have to be a few named after A, Cheech and Chong, and B, well, to me, the 3 biggest marijuana consumers in no particular order, Cheech and Chong, right. Snoop Dogg, and of course, Willie Nelson. There must be strains of weed named after each of them.
I'm sure there are. And all you have, for the main part, all you have to do is come up with some kind of flavor or color, and morph them together. Blackberry Smoke. Oh, wait, that's a band from.
I'm still waiting for TV commercials with Willie hawking, cannabis chewables or something. Gummies.
I think if anybody is doing, no, it's.
And Mike Tyson, doesn't Mike Tyson have a company?
Yes, he does.
Andrew Zimmel saying yes.
Yeah. Everybody does, it seems like, celebrity-wise.
Someday it'll be legal in Texas and we'll have sponsors for San Antonio's first news. Someday.
Hopefully we're still around for it.
Yeah.
Just to see it happen.
Yeah.
And we're not advocating, we've been over this 1,000 times. We're not necessarily, because if you want, I've mentioned this before, if you want some weed, pretty good chance somebody on your block has some. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just need to get this good, the income generated for the state. It's just crazy.
There are a bunch of states in America that are taxing weed and they're getting a lot of income for education or wherever they want to channel it. So, well, Charlie Parker, thanks for hanging out.
Sure.
We will do this again. Charity McCurdy, outstanding as always. Andrew Zimmel, not only doing the entire show, but the live YouTube feed and running a show out of Austin at the same time this morning. So he does a little bit of everything. Our thanks to him as well. We will do this. We will do this again tomorrow at about 5 o'clock. We will meet you then. Coming up, Glenn Beck will be at you in just a few minutes. Before that, Charity McCurdy with all the big stories you need to know about on this Monday morning. But right now, your Sean Hannity Morning Minute, WOAI News Time, 8:56. Farewell, Kay. See ya. We got you the lip color, Kay, from Charity.
Honest Barry.
Honest Barry. Wonder if it was named after Barry Manilow. I have no idea. Or Marion Barry. I have no idea. Raymond Barry. See y'all later. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow.